Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to our 150th weekly webcast. Wow, 150 weeks. It seems like yesterday that I did our first webcast with my MacBook webcam. So I want to thank you all for your support over the past couple of years. I also want to thank my wonderful team, Matt Lacousse, my Chief Creative Officer, who makes all this possible. He's great. Doug, Daniil, as well as Joe, Joey, as well as Lionel and Cassandra. I don't want to forget anybody. So I want to thank them all. And John Cleese, of course, as well. And John Marco, who else with the vlog. So I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart, my wonderful team, and you, all of my students, my customers, for the support for the past 3 years. It's been surreal. Now, if you're getting value out of this weekly call, please like, share, and subscribe. And thank you as always. Now, the way this weekly call works is first I discuss the important and interesting business news topics from the past week and how that you can use the news and other strategies to enhance your career or make you a much better investor as well. I want to humbly help. Then what I do is I spend the rest of the 3-hour call taking your questions, and I'll give away my $999 MBA degree product to one person on this call. And I'll explain exactly how you can win this very soon. Now, before we get started, though, one more thing I want to show you, something we just added to our homepage that I want to share with you. So give me 1 second to set this up. Here we go. Okay, great. All right, so you'll notice on my homepage here at harounventures.com that there's a button here. And the button is called Thinking About Starting a Business. Click me to use my free business plan worksheet to get started right away. And so if you click on this button here, you'll see that you can download right here. You can download a worksheet that my team Joey and Lionel made, which is awesome, which creates 10 essential. It has 10 essential components for you to help you create your business plan or take your company to the next level. So you can download it. It's interactive. It's a lot of fun. They worked very hard on it. And I think it's going to add a tremendous amount of value to all of my students. So thanks again to my wonderful team, Joey, as well as Lionel, for putting this together. I hope you enjoy it. All right, let's move on now to the news and general topics to help you take your career or investment portfolio to the next level. Thank you. There we go. Let's talk about giving a presentation in front of lots of people. Now, have you ever noticed that when someone messes up a little bit when presenting, or they appear more human and vulnerable, then immediately they become much more likable? It's amazing. If you make a mistake and you're yourself, people like you much more. And here's my favorite example of this.
Scandals happen all the time. The question is, how do democracies respond to those scandals?
And what will it mean for the wider region? I think one of your children has just walked in. I mean, shifting sands in the region. Do you think relations with the North may change?
I would be surprised if they do. Pardon me. My apologies.
What's this going to mean for the region?
My apologies. South Korea's policy choices on North Korea have been severely limited in the last 6 months to a year.
I love that guy. So there's many examples of this, especially with politicians, when they become more vulnerable or more human, or they're just being themselves. And this works exceptionally well in politics when it's accidental, of course. It can't be forced because people love it when you're just being yourself. Now, a great example of this, I can show you a couple, is when looking at the Democrat election in 2008, Hillary Clinton temporarily pulled ahead of Obama and won New Hampshire due to this personal and relatively vulnerable short remark that certainly wasn't scripted.
You know, I have so many opportunities for this country. I just don't want to see us fall backwards. You know, So.
She won New Hampshire for that, yeah. Now, the same thing with Obama when he's real and vulnerable. People really like this. And it's not just a Democrat thing, a Republican thing. It's for politicians all over the world when they're vulnerable and real.
Every time I think about those kids, it gets me mad.
Now, my favorite president of all time is Ronald Reagan. And he proves that you have to go off script and really speak from your heart. And what I'm about to show you from a Reagan speech is when he went off script in a crucial Cold War speech in Berlin. And this actually made his speechwriter at the time, which was Colin Powell, furious. Because Colin Powell, as his speechwriter, thought that what I'm about to show you actually destroyed a decade of trying to make peace with the Soviet Union. And there's 4 words that Reagan says here, God bless him, he passed away. There are 4 words that Ronald Reagan says here that changed the world forever. Give me 1 second to set this up. Sorry, yes. All right. A little bit of technical problems this morning, but I'm going to show you exactly what's going on behind the scenes here. Give me a second, guys. All right, I'm going to clear this off here and show you. Behind the scenes, I've got Wirecast running. It's fitting that on my 150th vlog, I make a mistake, and it's a real mistake, actually. Hopefully you like me a little bit more, maybe. All right, so I'm using Wirecast here to do this weekly call. Clearly, I'm winging this. And I teach all my students how to use Wirecast and a free version of this product called OBS, Open Broadcast Software, in my MBA degree program. Now, the issue I'm having here is with layers. Okay, so what happens is in Wirecast, you're supposed to put up layers here. And I've got 2 layers here by accident on the left here. I've got the camera, and I've also got a video, which I have to get rid of. So give me 1 second to fix this. And I promise you we'll get back on track. Okay, so here are 4 words that Reagan, I'm going to tee it up properly now. Here are 4 words that Reagan says here that changed the world.
If you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
It's powerful, eh? And really powerful off-script moments like that can make a speech come to life. The same thing with just being yourself and going off script, which is exactly what happened when it came to President Bush's speech right after 9/11.
And New Jersey and Connecticut, as we mourn the loss of thousands of our citizens. I can hear you. I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Moving on to one of my favorite athletes of all time, Big Papi in Boston here. And what he did was he gave a raw and real and certainly off-script pep talk to the fans of Boston at Fenway Park after the Boston terrorist event. Very powerful, off-script. I love this.
The whole police department for the great job that they did this past week. This is our fucking city. And nobody gonna dictate our freedom. Stay strong. Thank you.
Now, of course, there's plenty of movies where the star gives an off-script type of a performance. And my family and I actually, over the weekend, we watched this amazing movie on Apple TV called CODA, which stands for CODA, Children of Deaf Adults. And in the movie, there's a speech at Boston-based Berklee Academy of Music. And the incredible singer here was at an admissions interview. And she was looking over the heads of the admissions committee. And what she did was she sung to her deaf parents on the balcony using sign language and her beautiful voice. It was really, really powerful. So check out that movie. And the bottom line here is that if we show vulnerability, and if we are real and we go off script and we don't care what people think, then the outcome is going to be incredibly positive and potentially life-changing when we present. Because life often comes down to a few short moments, and going off script and just being you always works. Because as Dr. Seuss said, be who you are and say what you feel, because those who don't matter. I'm going to say it. I am not scripting this mistake here. Okay? I'm going to say it again. Okay. As Dr. Seuss said, be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind. Thank you. Oof. It's ironic, man, because that was about being yourself and making mistakes. And I didn't script those mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. How can you take your startup idea to the next level quickly without using a penny of your own money? Well, one way to do it is to apply to be included in what's called a startup incubator. And so what I want to do is I want to talk about 3 examples of incubators. And you can always search Google for startup incubators in your country as well. So the 3 incubators that I want to talk about are, number 1, Y Combinator, as well as 500 Startups and Techstars. And all 3 of these startup incubators teach startups how to succeed in business and with their startups. And they invest in these startups as well. And I'll go through each one of these really quickly. All right, so let's kick it off with Y Combinator. Okay, and some people call it YC. Y Combinator is based here in Silicon Valley, and it's one of the most successful and therefore hardest ones to get into. And companies that have come out of Y Combinator or YC include the following: Airbnb, Stripe, Twitch, Docker, and Coinbase as well. And since Y Combinator launched in 2005, the companies that they've worked with have a combined market capitalization of more than $300 billion. It's amazing. And the most notable investor in YC-backed companies is the number 1 venture capital company in the world, which is Sequoia. And Y Combinator even works with not-for-profit startups. Good for them. I love it. And the way it works is if you apply to Y Combinator at ycombinator.com, and if they accept you, what happens is they get 7% of your company, and you get $125,000. Alexa, what's 125,000 divided by 0.07?
125,000 divided by 0.07 is 1,785,714.28571.
Thank you for rounding. So they get 7% of your company, you get 125,000, and that values your company. I just asked Lex about it, at $1.7 million. And that's actually low enough so that it won't be impossible to raise money later without over diluting early investors. You never want to set your early valuation too high, otherwise you can't do another round. Now, Y Combinator also offers the startups advice and access to their network. And the program has recently been remote for obvious reasons, given COVID. And the acceptance rate it's actually tougher to get into Y Combinator than it is to get into Harvard, because the acceptance rate for Y Combinator is somewhere between 1 and 3%. Now, the next startup incubator I want to talk about is 500 Startups, which is a much newer incubator as it was founded back in 2010. And it's also here in Silicon Valley. Now, notable investments from 500 Startups includes unicorns like Canva, GitLab, and Udemy. And this is right from their website. Okay, so Udemy is one of them. In EdTech, Udemy is Google, and everyone else is Bing. Now, unlike Y Combinator, 500 Startups has offices all over the world. And if you want to learn how to apply to 500 Startups, which is much bigger than Y Combinator, what you can do is you can go to this website here, which is 500.co. And 500 Startups actually helps your startup, just like Y Combinator does, because they give you $150,000 for a 6% stake in your company, and you have to actually pay them a separate fee as well. Now, when I worked in venture capital, I went to a lot of 500 startup events, and I actually invested in one of the startups I met at a 500 Startups demo day event. In fact, the top 3 incubators that I'm discussing in this video, they represent about 10% of all venture capital deals when it comes to early venture capital investments, meaning the A round. And the acceptance rate to get into 500 Startups is between 1 and 2%. It's much bigger, but it's still very difficult to get into. Now, the last incubator that I want to talk about quickly is Techstars, which was founded in 2006. And it's actually based in Colorado, where a lot of tech companies now have offices. The acceptance rate to get into Techstars is also about 1 to 2%. And what they do is they own 6% of your company in return for $20,000 plus a $100,000 convertible note they give you later. Now, Techstars doesn't have that many incredibly well-known brands that started at the Techstars incubator. However, the combined market cap of the Techstars-backed companies is over $50 billion. And to learn more about Techstars, please go to techstars.com. Now, as part of my MBA degree program, and based on my venture capital and incubator experience in my career, I have a venture capital boot camp in the 3rd of 4 semesters of my MBA program. And to learn more about this, please go to harounventures.com. Thank you. Elon Musk's strategy with Starlink is to set up a constellation of tens of thousands of satellites to provide high-speed internet access to everybody in the world. Now, imagine that if there was no internet content filtering by communist countries or dictatorships. How awesome would that be for democracy and freedom of information consumption? Now, a child in the middle of any continent today has more and faster access to information using a cell phone than Bill Clinton did in the 1990s. Think about that. In fact, one of these smartphones has more processing power today than all of the computers in the world back in 1969 that were used to put the first person on the moon. And there's literally billions of smartphones out there. So when, not if, but when Starlink is accessible globally, then I think corrupt governments are more likely to be overturned. And in 2011, in the Arab Spring, what happened was the Egyptian government tried to stop access to freedom fighter websites. And it's amazing because in just 1 decade since then, we are on the verge. We are on the verge of being able to provide freedom of unfiltered information globally, which will keep corrupt governments in check. Now, this is a SpaceX rocket that's sending up 60 satellites for Starlink. Okay. Now, Starlink is not just a concept. It's happening right now. And this picture here is from a launch at Cape Canaveral back in 2019. And let's look inside this rocket ship in orbit. So here you can see 60 Starlink satellites being put into orbit. And this is back in 2019. And as of today, and if you're watching a replay of this, it's August 2021, As of today, there's more than 1,700 Starlink satellites in space. And Google Cloud and Microsoft Azure are going to help manage the Starlink network as well. So how can we tell what Microsoft is thinking? Okay, so I'm going to show you something really, really cool. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to tell what a company is trademarking. Okay, so I'm going to go over here with you, and we're going to go to uspto.gov together. That's United States Patent and Trademark Office. Okay, so uspto.gov. Okay, great. Then what we're going to do, and you can do this for all your competitors or companies you're interested in. Then you go to trademarks and you search trademarks. Okay, anybody can access this. Then what we're going to do is we will search, basic word search. It's an older website, it's government, but it works. We will search for Microsoft, okay, together. And let me get rid of this variable here. Okay, great. And you can see these are all the trademarks that Microsoft is trying to patent or has trademarked or is going to trademark, or ones that are dead. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to search and find out more about this Azure Orbit product. So I'm going to do Control F here on my keyboard, and I'm going to search for Azure Orbital. Here it is here. Okay, very cool. And let me make this a bit bigger so y'all can see it. Sound like I'm from Texas when I say y'all. Okay, Azure Orbital. Okay, so this here is the trademark, okay, for Azure Orbital. And it hasn't been approved yet, but it was actually filed, you can see here, on December 23rd of 2020. And it was published for opposition on July 20th of 2021. And what that means is anybody can contest this if they think they own the Orbital brand. And then after a month or two, if there are no oppositions, then what happens is Microsoft gets the trademark and fair use of the name Azure Orbital. And if you read here, and I won't go into detail on this, about the goods and services for this trademark, it's all about satellite technologies. Okay, and they're working closely with Elon Musk, of course. Now, Microsoft has an army of lawyers, okay, and they've had this for decades, an army of lawyers. And so they'll probably get approval of this brand very, very soon. And actually, I had a buddy of mine that worked on the first version of Internet Explorer at Microsoft in Redmond, Washington, back in 1995. And while he was coding, Microsoft lawyers were standing behind him, watching him code, and every now and then, a Microsoft lawyer would say, patent that, patent that. All right, let's get back to Starlink. Give me 1 second here. All right, cool. So back to Starlink. So as of now, 14 countries have internet access using Starlink. And currently, Starlink is part of SpaceX, okay? But given Elon Musk's grand ambitions with Starlink, what he's going to do is very soon he's going to spin off the company into a separate company, okay? A separate company through an IPO, meaning Starlink. Why is he doing this? Not only to monetize SpaceX investment in Starlink, but the use of proceeds of the upcoming Starlink IPO will enable mass production of tens of thousands of additional Starlink satellites. Now, to be objective, it is now very expensive to beta test Starlink and even get internet access because it costs $99 per month. Plus, what you have to do is you have to buy a satellite dish in the top right corner there. You see that? You have to buy a satellite dish, a router that looks like a white Cybertruck, and you have to buy a terminal that's in the bottom right-hand corner. And you have to do that in order to get access to the satellites in space. But as with all technology innovations, the cost is going to fall very, very quickly as terminals are mass-produced. And eventually what's going to happen is these things will become very, very small form factors. It's just what happens in technology. And with the schools that we're building in Africa through projectmagoo.org, the schools are actually going to be solar powered, but the internet access at first is going to be mobile based. But our very long-term strategy with Project Magoo is to use Starlink. And I'm really excited because our solar powered schools are going to have small satellite dishes to get Starlink internet access. Separately, I read a fascinating McKinsey study back in the 1990s that mentioned that the price of all components in computers and televisions drops by an average of 0.6% every single day. So it's going to take a few years, but the cost will eventually plummet as Elon Musk scales Starlink, and the impact on the world will be a game changer for freedom fighters. I love it. And the brilliance of Elon Musk's Starlink strategy and SpaceX strategy is that he's going to use, of course, or continue to use SpaceX to launch the Starlink satellites. And then what he'll use is his incredible brand name when marketing the Starlink IPO to raise billions of dollars to make this become a reality. And the great thing about Elon Musk is that he's so long-term focused and he has massive investor credibility. And only Elon can make this happen in the near future, and the future is now. And so this is a very big win for democracy. If this was helpful, please like and subscribe, and thank you as always. All right. Oh, dude, this is a fun one. Let me get a little bit of coffee here. Yeah, this blew me away, what I'm about to tell you. And before I get started, these are two rookie cards that are graded by a company called PSA. They're 10 out of 10. So the one on the left there of Mickey Mantle back in the 50s is worth millions, and the one of Ricky Henderson is worth close to $50,000 from 1980. Okay, let's get started. Topps is by far the strongest company in the history of the sports card collection market. They actually bought out and beat all of their competitors back in the oversupply card wars of the 1990s. And they make a fortune by ripping off collectors, by limiting the supply of their cards. And now they're about to become a giant player in the NFT market. Now, all this has led Topps to prepare for their IPO. And I bet the use of proceeds from their IPO is going to be to scale, or was going to be to scale, their NFT business. However, they had to cancel the IPO the other day because of an event that shocked the entire card collecting world. The industry was shocked when Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Union Association signed an exclusive trading card contract with clothing company Fanatics to sell baseball cards. And to make matters much, much worse for Topps, the NBA and the NFL were part of this deal with Fanatics, of all companies. Yeah. Now, Michael Eisner, smart guy, Michael Eisner, who was the Disney CEO for many, many years, is a very large owner of Topps. And he actually said that Topps was never contacted by Major League Baseball about the deal. So Topps couldn't even counter the deal from Fanatics. And even the Major League Baseball Players Association didn't talk to Topps at all about this deal. And what makes this fascinating and a little bit funny is that Fanatics is a clothing company. And this is as shocking and so out of left field, like if McDonald's immediately decided not to sell Coke, but instead they decided to buy soft drinks from clothing company The Gap. I couldn't find a Gap logo, so I threw up Baby Gap there. Now, Topps was literally about to IPO. And of course, a massive percent of the revenues is from baseball cards. So very soon, Topps might not be able to make any baseball cards anymore. And they actually started selling baseball cards back in the 1950s. It's an old company. Now, we don't have all the details yet of why the Fanatics exclusive contract was signed without even asking Topps for a counterbid. But likely the dollar value or the dollar amount from Fanatics was insanely high. And also, Major League Baseball owns part of Fanatics. And there actually might have been some hubris from Topps or arrogance over the years because they basically own the card market, the baseball card market, and they've gouged consumers and collectors for years with expensive pack of cards. And I'm clearly dating myself with what I'm about to say. But when I was a kid, it was 25 cents per pack of cards. And this is from 1980, and there was a Ricky Henderson rookie in that box maybe, which is worth a lot. But back when I was a kid, it cost me 25 cents per pack of cards. And each pack had a free piece of gum for some reason. 25 cents. It's amazing. And I do sound like an old man now. But now that Topps owns the entire baseball card market temporarily with no competition anymore, get this. This will blow you away. Here's a price per pack for one pack of cards, okay, from the 2021 edition of Major League Baseball cards. It's $10 per pack at walmart.com. $10. And card collecting is for kids and a man-child like me. And I know that inflation is high. I get it. But $10 per pack is insane. So I'm sure there are many reasons why Major League Baseball didn't renew the Topps contract. And I hope that Fanatics makes the price of cards lower so that more kids can enjoy collecting them like I did and I still do. What can we learn from Mother Teresa when it comes to how we conduct business? Well, the first thing is give and you'll receive. And she inspired millions of people with her generosity and the will to serve and help others. I love her. Now, if we use the same mentality in business and we help our colleagues, our customers, and mentor many people by giving our time to help others, then call it karma, call it what you will, but it always comes back to help you. Give and you'll receive. It's prophetic, and it's been true since the beginning of time. And there's a great book called Give and Take, A Revolutionary Approach to Success. And in this book, it states that the poorest 1% of people are givers. The middle 98% are takers. And the wealthiest 1% have always been givers and givers of their time, even before they became very successful. If you help other people in business, they will help you in the long run. But you have to do it with love in your heart and never by expecting anything in return. And when you help other people by mentoring them, you're in effect mentoring yourself, because when one teaches, two learn. And by mentoring other people, you kind of remind yourself of your core values and what your blueprint for success actually is. The next thing we can learn from Mother Teresa is about a positive attitude in business. As she once said, peace begins with a smile. Nobody has ever put their dent in the universe if they have an awful attitude. It's true. It's true. I mean, all these wonderful entrepreneurs, from Sir Richard Branson to Oprah Winfrey, got to where they are partially because of an incredibly positive attitude. And when it comes to meeting people in business for the first time, first impressions are everything, as we know, and a smile is mandatory. And Mother Teresa also said, every time you smile at someone, it's an action of love, a gift to that person, a beautiful thing. Now, another lesson from Mother Teresa is that if you judge people, you have no time to love them. Now, if we only look for the positives about people we work with, then the culture of our team will be off the charts. And we have to stay away from water coolers and avoid office gossip or ever saying anything negative about anyone at work. And as simplistic as that sounds, once you allow gossip into your corporate culture, productivity collapses. There's good in everyone. Now, we all have great qualities. And Mother Teresa also said this: yesterday is gone. Tomorrow is not yet come. We have only today. Let us begin. And I think that in business, we should adopt Dale Carnegie's philosophy of living in day-tight compartments. Now, if we worry too much about the past, and especially the future, then what happens is we'll never be able to focus enough and reach our full potential in life. And it was Winston Churchill who once said, I met a man who on his deathbed spoke of all the worries he had in his life, none of which came true. And what gives me a peace of mind personally when it comes to careers is I always tell myself, God already knows what's going to happen, which stops me from worrying about my future career. And it's important to stress that work doesn't kill us, worrying does. Mother Teresa also once said that if you can't feed 100 people, then feed just one. And we have to be very long-term focused in business. As Oprah Winfrey said, you can have it all, but you can't have it all at once. We have to be patient. So just focus on what you can control today, because it might seem like we failed today, but it's a marathon and not a sprint. And in business, we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 1 year, but we massively underestimate what we can accomplish in a decade. So feed one person today and way more than 100 in 10 years. Lastly, we can learn from Mother Teresa when it comes to giving our employees more feedback. She once said, "Kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless." It's easy to provide more positive feedback in business, and the impact on morale and productivity can truly be endless. Hedge funds have massively underperformed the S&P 500 since 2008, and the fees on hedge funds are ridiculously high as well. So higher fees doesn't mean higher returns. And what's happened to hedge funds is a couple of things, okay? A couple of things have led to the massive underperformance of hedge funds over the past decade or so. Number one, the Securities and Exchange Commission and the FBI have come after many hedge funds that were certainly guilty of insider information. And the investment laws actually started getting more strict starting in 2002 when the government created what's called Regulation FD, which stands for Fair Disclosure. And this is awesome for us, and I'll explain why. This 2002 regulation is great because by law now, no hedge funds or mutual funds are allowed to get access to any company information before retail investors do. And this has hurt hedge fund performance. So the edge that hedge funds and mutual funds had on us is gone. Now, post the 2008 bank bailout, the government has been pressured, rightly so, to go after many, but not all, hedge funds that violated securities laws. Because, of course, it's not fair that they have an edge over retail investors. The second reason hedge fund performance has deteriorated is because of the massive growth of exchange-traded funds, which have minimal fees. Now, many investors prefer to invest, rightly so, in ETFs instead of hedge funds and instead of mutual funds, because those ETFs often outperform hedge funds and mutual funds as well with much lower fees. And since more people buy ETFs now, it makes the correlation between stocks much higher than it was in the past, because when you buy an ETF, you buy many stocks in that ETF. And so if stocks tend to move more closely together now, it's harder for hedge funds or mutual funds to justify the ridiculous fees and outperform those indexes or stocks, which they don't, because correlation is high. Okay. The third reason why hedge funds have underperformed a little bit is because of computer-based trading. Now, it's harder for hedge funds to now find mispriced assets or arbitrage opportunities because computers are starting to do this much more often. And with artificial intelligence-based investing, expect this trend to, of course, continue. Lastly, the fourth reason is because of the emergence of retail investors that team up to buy highly shorted stocks, which leads to unprecedented short covering by hedge funds in stocks like GameStop, AMC, etc., which, of course, destroys hedge fund performance. So why do hedge funds even exist? Well, one of the reasons is because wealthy investors quite often want to focus on, number one, capital preservation, and then number two, capital appreciation. And a hedge fund is actually called a hedge fund because if you think of your backyard, you have a hedge around your backyard protecting it. And using that analogy, hedge funds protect capital. And again, many wealthy investors want to preserve their wealth should the market materially pull back. And I personally think that hedge funds are in secular decline because their ability to generate alpha, meaning beating the market, has been materially hurt given the 4 reasons I mentioned in this video. Startup valuations are now at an all-time high. And the average late-stage private company, meaning the ones that are almost ready to do an IPO, the average late-stage company has a valuation close to $1 billion. And the average earlier stage valuation is now over $100 million. It's unbelievable. And a couple of things have actually led to this record high valuation. The most obvious one is the fact that interest rates are artificially low. And if rates are basically zero, it actually forces investors to not leave money in the bank, but to invest instead in all non-bank asset classes like stocks, real estate, and riskier, less liquid private companies. And the Federal Reserve has no bullets left to stimulate the economy because rates can't go any lower. And there's only so many stimulus packages that the government can create. And the government doesn't know what's going to happen with Delta or other COVID variants. And if they raised rates too early, then the impact could be devastating. The alternative is let inflation creep up, which is less devastating than raising rates too early, just given the unknown impact of the Delta and now Lambda variant. And the inverse of this actually took place in the early 1980s, when inflation was way worse than it is right now. And the Federal Reserve had to raise interest rates to about 20% in the early 80s. And what happened then was, of course, people left their money in the bank, in order to make 20% risk-free. And back then, nobody bought stocks, and hardly any private companies got funded in the early 80s. Now, the second thing leading to record high valuations of private companies is that mutual funds and hedge funds are really frustrated with private companies. Because what's happened is wealth creation has moved from the public markets to the private markets because many private companies are waiting much longer to go public today. So instead of a private company doing an IPO at a valuation of $1 billion, they wait and they go public at $10 billion. And so there's less upside in the stocks when they go public for hedge funds or mutual funds to profit. And hedge funds and mutual funds do incredibly well when it comes to IPOs as well, or they have traditionally. Because what happens is the big prime brokerage firms, like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, UBS, etc., a lot of their clients are hedge funds. And what they do is they give their hedge funds great allocations in IPOs so they can hopefully generate alpha. As a result, what's happening now is many mutual funds and hedge funds are investing way more money today in private companies than ever before, which is driving up valuations a lot. And 40% of all late-stage investments are now done by mutual funds and hedge funds, meaning non-traditional venture capital firms. And you saw that recently with Fidelity investing a lot of money in Reddit at a valuation of $10 billion. Now, the third reason why we have record high private company valuations is because of the massive boom in cloud software companies that continue to disrupt traditional business models. And as venture capitalist Mark Andreessen once said, software is eating the world. And now that we have deflationary cloud service provider platforms like Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, and Microsoft's Azure cloud offering, it's much cheaper and easier for anyone, anywhere in the world to start internet companies. All right, I think that's it. Let's move on now to Q&A. As you all know, I answer the questions in the order in which I receive them. If you type in a hyperlink, YouTube strips it out for some reason. I won't see the question. If I miss your question, paste it again, because I do have senior moments, clearly. Let's do this. Thank you. All right, let me organize my desk a little bit more. All right. So the first question we've got is from Demian, who wrote here. Here we go. Demian wrote, "Hey Chris," Demian's based in Barcelona. He's my MBA program. Great guy. Demian wrote, "Dear Chris, I hope you're well. Likewise. I'm very grateful for your MBA's methodology. I'm now 14% done the MBA program. In the finance and accounting track, the analogy you used with the banana was outstanding. Thank you. Thank you." And what I was explaining, and to learn more about my MBA program, you guys can go right here. But what I was explaining is that, and I'll make this a generic statement to apply to everybody. But when it comes to formulas, when there's fractions involved, I want you to always assume the denominator is a number 1. Okay, and I'll get to the banana thing in a second. So, for example, if the price earnings multiple of a company, P divided by E, if the denominator is 1, that means for every $1 in earnings, investors are paying 10 times, for example, the price of that $1 in earnings. So if a company has a price earnings multiple of 10 times, then think of the denominator as being 1. For every $1 in earnings, investors are paying 10 times that $1. And it works also very well when you're looking at profit margins. Okay, so profit margins basically means how much money do you make for every $1 of stuff you sell. So if you have net income divided by revenue, which is profit margin, for every $1 in revenue on the denominator, how many pennies are you making in net profit? So if your net profit margin is 30%, that means for every $1 in revenue, the denominator, you generate 30 cents of profits on the numerator. Now, when it comes to banana, what I did my MBA program is I introduced the concept of fractions that way by having one banana, and I had a big blender, and I put one banana in, and I put in some milk, and I made a massive milkshake. And then I had a bunch of glasses, and I poured in, I think it was about 3 glasses from the milkshake until it was empty. And so I said, for every 1 banana, we actually get 3 milkshakes. That was the yield. It's kind of fun. I like to teach in different ways. I make it fun. Yeah. Excellent. And then you wrote, I'm enjoying accounting and learning with enthusiasm. Big hug from Barcelona. Big hug right back at you. Yeah. And then Demi wrote, my question is, can it be possible to use blockchain in companies' valuations? And then you wrote, God bless you, and humongous thanks. God bless you way more. Yeah. It's a little bit tough for me to answer that question. I mean, what I've invested in Ethereum, or I mine Ether, at least I can at home until December when they change the rules for Ether only. But when I mine with Ether, what really makes me bullish on Ethereum, and I've owned Ethereum for ages and I'll never sell it, is that their blockchain is kind of a platform for ICOs, NFTs, etc. NFTs, almost all of them go public or get listed or are birthed or created using the blockchain from Ethereum. So it's hard to value it that way. But I do value entire cryptocurrency companies, which I teach you in my MBA degree program, an updated version of it in a lot of detail. And what you want to do with cryptocurrencies is you want to make sure you obviously do a ton of research, which I provide you all the tools to do that in my program. You want to think about what the total addressable market of all cryptos is going to be in the future. And after you do that, you need to figure out what percent of that market, the cryptocurrency you're doing research on, will gain in the long run. Yeah. And the one thing I can't wrap my hands around when it comes to Ethereum is the fact that there's no real limit on supply of the shares. But I love the fact that it's a platform. And with Bitcoin, which I've owned forever, I'm never selling. With Bitcoin, when you do research on it, it's obvious from reading the technical report on it when it first listed or when ICO that there's a limit on the number of Bitcoin that can be ever mined. And the limit's going to be 21 million Bitcoin by the year 2140. So you always want to look at supply with all assets you do research on. Okay. Next up, I've got Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan Elcock, how are you? Michael is one of my amazing MBA students. He graduated last year from the program. He's based in Trinidad. And I got to meet with him over Zoom during graduation. I met his wonderful wife, Rosemary, as well. And Michael is over 70 years old, but he looks and sounds and acts like he's 28. Yeah, he's awesome. And it's so funny because when I started my MBA program, my mom saw a list of students that signed up, and Michael was one of the first. Thank you, Michael. And my mom said, "Oh my gosh, Michael Jordan's taking your program." Yeah, it's not that, Michael Jordan. I like you better. Yeah. But speaking of Michael Jordan, he said, "I failed over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed." Yeah. Great to see you, Michael. So Michael wrote here, "Good morning, Chris. You're a rock star." Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. I was about to search for a YouTube video and discovered that with 5 hours to go before you go live, there's already 6 people waiting to get into the live webcast. Yeah, no, it's been fun, and thank you all for your support. And by the way, if anybody enters questions like 12 hours before, I don't see them. YouTube sometimes strips it out. All right, thank you. Great to see you. God bless you, brother, and Rosemary as well. Hope you guys are doing great. And then Michael said, "This reminds me of folks camping out at a rock concert venue 12 hours before the show. These are 6 very smart people. Many blessings to you, your staff, and the class of 2020-21. Thank you. God bless you, and great to see you. And please give my best to Rosemary as well." Now, one of my businesses I started, I've always started lots of businesses. I failed a lot too. When I was an undergrad, I actually started a company at McGill University called Harlem Productions. Har for my last name, and Lamb for my best friend Trevor Lamb at the time. And we used to camp out overnight for concert tickets in freezing cold Montreal, and then we'd sell them for a big premium. We put up posters everywhere. We did well, actually. It was good. I remember the first one we did it for was a Sting concert, the All This Time a concert. And I remember when we fell asleep, and when we woke up, there was money in front of us, and somebody brought a bag of Burger King hamburgers because they thought we were homeless. Yeah. Great to see you. All right, next up I got Senya, who wrote, "Chris, as always, thanks for doing the webcast today. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. 150 weeks. Amazing. I'd love to know your thoughts on crypto versus gold debate, which will be an effective hedge against inflation." Yeah. So as bullish as I am on many cryptos, I think that over 95% of them are absolute scams. The 5%, if you can find them and do your research to find them, you can make a fortune in the very, very long run. Buy when everyone else is freaking out only. 95% of them are scams. And there's more cryptos out there now than real paper-based currencies. So if I had to choose one, I guess I'd choose Bitcoin as being a great long-term hedge against inflation. But if I didn't have time to do a lot of research, I'd buy gold instead, right? Because there's a limit on how much gold is out there, right? It's kind of like my grandfather used to tell me, "Chrissy, buy land. They're not making it anymore." Yeah. And the easiest way to buy gold is to buy GLD, which is an ETF. The fees are about 0.5% per year, but you know it's real gold, right? And also you can trade in and out of it quickly if you need to. And gold was my biggest position, the GLD ticker, in 2008 when I ran my hedge fund. Yeah. We were scared then, man. Yeah. And finding shorts was like shooting fish in a barrel. All right. And give me 1 second, guys, please. Thanks. All right. All right. Next question I've got is Sean, who wrote, and if I ever mispronounce anyone's name, please let me know. Thank you. Who wrote, "Hi, Mr. Chris. Hope you're doing well. Thank you. Appreciate it. I've recently joined a market intelligence company as a research associate. I would like your advice and what you think about this industry in terms of its future. Thanks in advance." Yeah, that's kind of a generic name for a sector, market intelligence. Let me know if you have any more details. But I do know that business intelligence and business analytical companies have done incredibly well over the past couple decades and will continue to do so. I expect many more artificial intelligence-based IPOs to come soon. The last one I invested in when I was in venture capital, I invested in Palantir when it was private. I'm no longer a shareholder. I sold it when it was private. Yeah. So I think it's a high growth market. Yeah. All right. Anurag wrote, "Hey Chris, with a full-time job, it could be challenging working on business or acquiring new skills. Would you recommend taking a break and quitting for 6 months to a year to pursue long-term goals?" Yeah. A couple things. Number one, if you're going to quit your company, wait till January always, unless you've been there for a long time. And here's why. If you joined a company, let's say in July of this year, and you want to quit in December of this year, then on a LinkedIn profile, it looks like you've been there for a year. If you waited till January, then it looks like you might have been there for 1 or 2 years, right? And 2 years is usually the minimum you should spend at a company. If you change companies too many times, it's hard to get a job because companies are worried you might quit. Now, in terms of starting your company or your long-term goals, I would do it on the side while you work. And failing to plan is planning to fail. And most people don't write a business plan. And so I recommend going to my website, signing up for my MBA degree program, where I do a venture capital boot camp in the 3rd semester. Or if you go to my website, as I showed at the beginning of today's webcast, what you can do is you can click on a button I put at the top, which will allow you to download for free a very long worksheet that will help you crystallize your thought process when it comes to starting your company. Now, the way that we know we have a great business plan, or one that has a high % chance of success, is if we actually finish the business plan. You know, most business plans I've written, I've never finished. Because by doing it, and I teach you how to do this in my MBA program, by doing it, I realize that it's a crappy business. So write the whole thing, and I provide you with a ton of templates and many lessons on how to do this in my MBA degree program, which you can check out at this web address here. Yeah, and there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you can watch that part of the program and then get your money back in 29 days. My marketing team hates it when I say that. Sorry, Joey. Yeah. All right. Next up, Abel wrote, "Hey, Chris, hope all's well. Likewise. I have one question for you today. How are psychopathic tendencies associated with leadership emergence?" I mean, there are people that are so ambitious that they'll throw anybody under the bus to get to the top, and usually they get caught eventually. You know, and you see this with billionaires sometimes. You know, they have there's something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where he discusses people either have a need for affiliation, a need for achievement, that sort of thing. And some billionaires have such a high amount of ambition that their need for achievement is off the charts, and they cut corners along the way. And sometimes you'll hear about a billionaire who just got caught for insider trading. And you think to yourself, why the hell would you do that, man? You're a psychopath. I mean, you've been successful for so many years and you're already a billionaire. Why would you risk going to jail? It's because once a cheater or once a psychopath, always a cheater, so to speak. They just didn't get caught. Yeah. And it's hard for me to explain, but in business and in life, if your gut tells you not to trust somebody, go with your gut. Because, you know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Always go with your gut. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Andre. Hey, Andre, how are you? Wrote, when developing your business plan, do you have any recommended websites to use in researching your industry? Yes, I do. Yeah. So when you research an industry, you really need to figure out what the size of the total addressable market is. And there's 2 ways to do this. One way to do it is to go to sec.gov and get a list of the top 25 companies in an industry. Okay. And look at the annual reports for all 25 companies. And then once you look at the annual reports for all 25 companies, I want you to take the revenue for all those companies for a given year and add it up, because that's a good proxy of the size of the total addressable market. Now, I get the question quite often, what do I do if the market doesn't exist? It does exist. It just hasn't been disrupted yet. So when it came to Uber, when Uber wrote their initial business plan, the online taxi market didn't exist, but the traditional taxi market existed. And so they looked at the total addressable market of all traditional medallions or the taxi sector globally. Yeah. So that's why I would say when it comes to that. Now, when it comes to researching other companies in your industry, you could always go and read the annual reports or the 10Ks of these companies. And they have to, by law, disclose all the risks. So I would check that out. And that helps you for financial modeling as well. And I explain that and much, much more in my MBA degree program. Yeah. And in my program, I give you a ton of templates as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open one up in the background. I'll show you once it loads. But I give you every type of tool you need to be successful in business. I give you all the arrows in your quiver, tons of frameworks, so I can teach you how to fish instead of providing you with a fish. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and share with you. I'm going to show you one of these dashboards. Okay, so give me 1 second to tee this up. Here we go. All right, so this here is one of the many tools that I provide you with. Okay, so this is a 100-step template that I made for my MBA degree students. That will allow you to analyze every aspect of a business model. Up here are the qualitative drivers, quantitative drivers here, and then financial drivers. And the output is a dashboard. Okay, and this is just dummy data here, but it links properly when you do it. The output here is a dashboard, as well as a detailed 150-page reports. Okay, and there's 100 steps in here as well. And you enter in a bunch of, I ask you a bunch of questions, you fill it in, and it all filters through as well to different tabs. Yeah. Okay, let me get back to Big Chris mode here. 1 second. Okay, cool. All right, next up, Asanga wrote, "Hello, sir, good day. How do you? Congratulations on your 150th episode. Thank you. I think I joined you from the 24th episode, and I learned so much by watching you every Thursday. So thank you. I appreciate the support. I really do. My students inspire me so much, and when one teaches, two learn. Yeah. So, and by the way, I've answered so many questions, more than 10,000 questions over the past 3 years on this weekly webcast and also in my MBA office hours. And so for my MBA students. So if you're ever curious about my humble thoughts on anything based on the vlogs or topics I've talked about, at the top, just do a search here on anything, right? So SPAC or IPO or whatever it is. And you'll find all the details here. Yeah. Or if you do a search, for example, on how does an income statement work? You type here and you can see all the many vlogs I made over the years on the income statement. And also, click here for my MBA program. If you've registered for it, you can click here to go immediately to where that is in the MBA program as well. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Andre wrote, how many people assist you in creating this weekly office meeting regarding the cameras, lighting, and special effects? Thanks. Yeah. So everything was set up. Matt helped me set everything up over the past few years. The studio hasn't changed at all in the past 6 months. Since I bought this backlighting here. And so when it comes to creating these topics, I do everything myself. The only thing my staff does is they send out an email to everybody to join. So my workflow process is as follows. Every Tuesday night, I'll put together a list, or Monday night, I'll do all 7 topics. I'll send it to my team so they have it for the email list. And then on Wednesday, I spend the whole day after my morning meeting with my team. I spend the whole day in my garage on my elliptical trainer just to mix it up a bit, scripting all 7 of these topics, as well as putting together all the images, which I get from Adobe stock images or storyblocks.com sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Next up, Sanger wrote, I've got a question. If I want to become a managerial accountant, do I need a degree, or what qualifications do I need? Is it harder? Is it hard being a financial accountant? Thank you. Yeah. So it depends where you are in the world. Some people want to hire CPAs, certified professional accountants. When it comes to designations for the finance industry, meaning not accounting, a lot of times you don't need a degree. Sometimes you do. If you don't want to get a degree and you want to work in finance, I recommend checking out the Certified Financial Analyst designation, or the CFA designation, which takes you 3 years to do. You just write one test each year for 3 years during the evenings. If you want to study for that, don't waste your money on the textbooks. I can tell you an easier way for just $30 from eBay. If you're interested, let me know and I'll tell you about it. Yeah. Buy them used. Okay. And I love to help my students humbly work smarter, not harder, always. Yeah. Okay, next up. Have you thought about adding separate investment banking, business analysis, or project management modules to the MBA program? Yeah, in the MBA program, we talk a lot about investment banking. And if you signed up for it already, what you can do is I'll show you how to find it. Just go to my homepage here, harounventures.com, and at the top here, just type up investment banking. And even if I make a typo, it works. I am 7.5. And so here in the MBA program, if you click here, there's tons of places where we talk about investment banking. We do case studies, investment banking, venture capital, all that stuff as well. Investment, maybe I have to spell it right. Let me try that again. Investment banking. Yeah, it's here as well. Yeah, it's right here. Cool. That joke never gets old though, right? All right. Kevin wrote, good morning. Kevin, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Guillermo said, best day of the week is amongst us again. A good day, Chris and everyone. Thank you. Great to see you. And please let me know if I'm pronouncing your name right. Guillermo. Yeah, let me know if that's correct. Thanks. Okay, Ife wrote, 150, the big day. Congratulations, Chris. Thank you. I can't believe it's been 150 days or weeks. Crazy. And I'm never going to stop doing this. Ever. Yeah. I'm also going to blog every day forever. It's lonely sometimes doing it, but that's okay. And I'll never take any sponsorships, which has hurt the growth of my channel a lot, but you're my customer only, nobody else. The second I start taking sponsorships, then I can't give you my honest thoughts on anything. Yeah. It's kind of like when you go to a video game website to learn about a new video game, and you see that Halo has got a grade of 9 out of 10. And you're like, dude, this new version of Halo sucks. And then you look at the top and you notice Microsoft is advertising that website. Okay. Arjun wrote, hey, Chris, hope you're doing well. Likewise. One doubt. What do companies do when they buy back shares? Do they collapse it or do they distribute it to the employee funds? Great question. So what happens is a lot of times companies have a lot of cash and they don't know what to do with that cash, right? They don't want to buy another company. They don't want to hire more people. And their shareholders are pissed off because the stock is not high enough. So what they do is they use their cash to retire shares. Okay, so those shares don't exist anymore. They buy the shares in the open market. And when they do that, what happens is the earnings per share goes up a lot because earnings per share means earnings divided by number of shares, right? And if you reduce the denominator number of shares, earnings per share goes up a lot. And hence the price earnings multiple goes down because the price earnings multiple is price divided by earnings per share. All right. And Anurag wrote, congrats on 150th episode to you and your team. We look forward to infinite web classes. Shouldn't we expect a treat from you? Yeah. Well, thank you. Well, what I'll do is, okay. So I'm going to give away my MBA degree program. I do it on most of these weekly calls to one person. And I'll explain how to get it later today. Okay, I'll ask a question. Now, usually, the first person that answers gets the MBA program for free, okay? What I'll do this time is the first 5 people that answer, okay, the question correctly get the MBA for free. My marketing and sales team hates me right now, but that's okay. I do it with love in my heart. But you can't answer the question when I ask it if you're already part of the program, yeah. And you can always get my complete job course for free. Just go to... Let's go to, I'm in a generous mood this morning. I always am. All right, so if you go to my website, go to harounventures.com/complete job. Okay, right here. All lowercase complete job. you can get my complete job course for free as well. And I just changed these images. Let me know what you guys think of the new image here. My team just changed it. Okay. All right. And Fred wrote, happy to see you, Chris. How are you? I'm always great. Thanks. Thank you. Tado wrote, hi, everyone. Hey, man. 4G, say good morning to you, too. Next up, Greg wrote this. Greg said, what is the main thing you wish you knew earlier in your investment career? For me, it's the mega backdoor Roth where you can put in after-tax money into a 401k and then roll this over into a Roth IRA. Yeah, and that's smart. And for those who don't understand what a Roth IRA is, so in every country in the world, the government incentivizes you to save money for retirement. And they let you put money into a bank account tax-free, right? No tax on it at all until you retire, right? Then you take all the money out and pay tax then when it's a bigger amount. What a Roth IRA is, it's the inverse of that. You pay tax first, then you put money into that account, and then when it grows a lot, when you take it out in the future, you don't pay tax on that. Why would you do that? People do that because they think that taxes are either going to be a hell of a lot higher in the future, or they think that their own, like government's going to raise tax for everybody, or they think that their own personal tax mandate is such that the tax rate's so low for them now, but it's going to be much higher in the future for them personally. Yeah. In terms of what I wish I knew in my investment career, I wish earlier on I'd learned that, instead of focusing on analyzing financial statements and all that stuff, start by analyzing the management team. And I've learned, because I've worked in the hedge fund industry and at Goldman Sachs and the venture capital industry, and I've taught for years, I've learned that ideas are commodities, execution is not. And I've also learned that I always rather invest in an A management team with a B business model instead of investing in a B management team with an A business model. The jockey is always more important than the horse. We don't focus enough time analyzing people. Yeah. And in the venture capital sector, in the public markets, there's that legal notion of past performance is not indicative of future performance. In the private markets, it is. And that's controversial, I know. But if you invest in a management team that's been very successful in the past, like Frank Slootman, I invested in him a bunch in the past. He was at Data Domain, and then ServiceNow. I participated in the IPO, NOW, and then Snowflake Computing. And I almost led one of the earlier rounds in that company, but I quit to do this instead. But the bottom line is that past performance is indicative of future performance if you invest in great managers that have had multiple exits before or have executed flawlessly before. Yeah. Okay. Also, another thing is, what I told myself in hindsight, Chris, don't get seduced by cheap valuations of companies. A lot of times they're cheap for a reason, or those numbers are wrong. Always do your own research. Never rely on anybody else. Never rely on me. You can rely on me to give you frameworks, though, right? I teach you how to fish instead of providing you with a fish. Don't ever read editorials about what stocks to buy, because no one's smarter than you. And if you don't form your own opinions before you invest, then what happens is you end up selling at the worst time, and you're just a tourist in a stock. You're renting it, which is devastating. You got to be long-term focused. And just to sum up this comment, Warren Buffett once said, the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where consumers sell stuff when it goes on sale. Be a contrarian, back up the truck, meaning buy a lot of stocks when everyone else is freaking out, usually when the VIX is at an all-time high. And I'll explain the VIX in much more detail and what that means when I talk about options in my upcoming options course, which will be added a much longer version of my MBA degree program as well. And for those of you taking my MBA degree program, the options stuff is going to be elective, 30-hour course, elective, around class 89. I'll send an email out to everybody because, as you know, when you buy my MBA program, you get all updates and everything I ever publish forever for free. Yeah. All right. Next up, Samir. Hey, Samir wrote, hey, Chris, why bother buying commodity ETFs like gold or SLV? SLV is the silver ETFs. Why bother buying commodity ETFs if return rates are not so good? I understand about the scarcity, but historical performance is not convincing me. Am I missing the point? Yeah. So people tend to buy gold, ticker GLD, or the metal itself, when they're really, really, really worried about the economy. Like in 2008, one of the best long investments was gold. And so I think gold is a great place to put money if you're very worried about the economy and the markets, etc. Yeah. Silver is a little bit different though, because silver, there is a bit of a correlation to gold, but silver has a lot more, it's a rare mineral as well, not as rare as gold. Silver has a lot more industrial uses, so it's much more cyclical than gold. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Demian wrote, Dear Chris, I hope you're well, likewise. I'm very grateful for your MBA methodology. I'm 14. Okay, you posted this one twice. Thank you. And God bless you. Thank you for being with me as well. Thank you. Make sure you get that Fernando Valenzuela sweatshirt I told you about ages ago for your kids. Yeah. All right. Samir wrote, on another note, what are your thoughts on specializing on a topic versus generalizing and knowing many things? I'm too curious. I'm a data scientist, but now I'm enticed by blockchain finance and leadership. Yeah. So there's an old saying that you don't want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. You want to focus on one thing that you're passionate about and be the best damn person on the planet in that skill. Otherwise, you're spread too thin. And a lot of people that start their own companies, what happens is they work at a big company and they do skill X, and they make the management or the company a lot of money and they don't get paid well. And so they want to be a master of that skill X. And so they quit and they start their own company. But they don't realize that when they start that company, they're not just going to be doing skill X. They're going to be doing a lot of other things. Accounting, raising money, managing people, dealing with investors, all that stuff. And so what happens is you're spread so thin when you start your own company that the end result is you're kind of a jack of all trades, but no longer a master of that one skill X. And so in my venture capital boot camp and in my MBA degree program, I teach you how to outsource all that stuff. And I also teach you how to start a company with no money down. Okay, and I never want you to use your own money. I want you to raise money from others. Okay, and don't get a bank loan, because banks are chicken. You miss one payment, they'll take everything. Yeah, I teach you how to network on steroids in my program as well. And I really love, like, there's only one price for my MBA program. It's a one-time fee. That's it. You get all the free stuff, the new lessons I make over the next couple decades, and I'll be adding a ton of stuff. Right now, it's over 300 hours. It's going to be over 1,000 hours, probably within 5 years. I'm going to add a ton more electives. But I love teaching my students how to do things with free resources, or how to scale a business from scratch without putting any money down. It's cheap to start a company now. Anybody can do it anywhere in the world. COVID has taught us that we can all work remotely. Yeah. All right. Next up, Vendel wrote, hey, Chris, what do you think about the insurance industry? Yeah, it's funny. I've been thinking a lot about it lately because in my options course, what I'm doing is I'm explaining really briefly how life insurance works and how that's basically an options contract. I think the insurance industry, it's kind of a boring industry to be honest, but it's incredibly profitable. And 28% of Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway fund, over the years, 28% on average of his fund has been in insurance companies like Geico, which he's been in since the 60s. And he loves the insurance companies because they throw off a lot of cash. And the additional cash he collects, he invests in other companies, in Berkshire Hathaway, and he's done so for many, many years. Now, the insurance industry it's all about statistics. It's fascinating. It's all about probability. This is a Galton board, normal probability. I'm using this for my options course. Probability of things happening. You have to use a lot of simulation as well, like Monte Carlo simulation. This is a cheap prop, clearly, for my options course. But options are very, very similar to insurance contracts. And basically, if you analyze probabilities and the probability that somebody passes away early or whatever it is, tragically, God forbid, and you collect a lot of different premiums, kind of like options premiums from lots of people that buy life insurance from you, so to speak, you can make a fortune because the probability of a bad event occurring to every single one of those people at the same time is quite small. And insurance companies do really well by taking small amounts of money from people, okay? Because if they took large amounts from just a handful of people instead of lots, and if somebody wanted to cash in that policy, they go bankrupt. And insurance companies are just like casinos. So casinos, they make a fortune by making sure that 51% of the time or more you lose. Okay, it's kind of like, and also you'll notice when you go to casinos, usually you can't bet a lot of money on each deal. Okay, like slots are usually 25 cents or $1, sometimes $5 in Vegas, and the reason is so that more people lose money. Right, it's easier for you to spend that money, and if God forbid somebody wins the jackpot, it's not going to destroy them. These are called one-armed bandits. Yeah, and I can go into that in more detail if you want to. But when you play roulette, for example, in a casino, this is a good analogy. There's like 100 red and black slots. If you get in them, you can win money. There's a 50% chance you lose based on that, but they also add 2 other green slots, a 0 and a double 0. So all of a sudden, your probability of winning goes to just below 50%. And the insurance industry is very statistical in nature as well, just like the options industry and the casino industry. I think I butchered that one, but that was fun. Sorry. All right. I'd rather be an investor in the insurance industry than work in it, though, to be honest. Yeah. I have friends I graduated with from McGill that went to work in life insurance. It's not a happy place. Samir wrote, Chris, I want to let you know that you inspire me personally and professionally. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Your professional knowledge is amazing, but it's your personality that makes a difference. I'm forever grateful. Thank you. I appreciate the feedback. My students inspire me so much as well. Thank you. 150 weeks. Cray. Next up, Manas wrote, oh my God, you're back with your black shirt. You look awesome, my mentor. Thank you. I appreciate it. Good morning and hope all is well. How's the option course going? Hope all is fine there. It's going great. Thanks. I'm not going to release it until it's awesome. So I'm trying to take a complex topic and teach it in a fun and intuitive way. I got the largest number of props I've ever used for a course. I've got a lot of Lego bricks because I'm going to teach you one concept at a time. And all of a sudden, after a while of building bricks for the options course, in the options course, you're going to realize, oh my God, I can do this. It's easy and it's fun. I'm trying to make it fun. It's been a blast. But Manas, I'm going to be really sad when it's over. It's like reading a good book. You put it up on your bookshelf, you feel good about it, but part of you is gone. I'm having a blast doing it. Yeah, thank you. And I'm wearing the black shirt because I thought this morning, I got up and I thought, I don't know, I used to dress like this in my courses, and I thought it's 150th week, might as well do something like this. Yeah, traditional. Yeah. All right. And Manas said, are you ever going to buy a Tesla car like a Cyber truck? Yeah. I don't like the design specifically. It's quite odd and would make you look unique in the world. I think it's going to sell out. I think it'll do exceptionally well. A lot of people think it looks cool, different, unique and stuff. I don't have a need for it just because I don't work in an industry where I need to have a truck. We ordered a Model Y that comes in December. There's a lot of tax breaks. And the reason why we didn't do the Model X, do the Model Y, it's like way cheaper and it's the exact same thing. Except maybe it doesn't go as fast, but I don't want my kids to drive quickly and stuff. The back door of the Model X, it's like butterfly. It looks cool. The way it moves up, I look ridiculous. Hi. But there's been problems with that door as well. A lot of problems, especially when you're trying to get in the front seat, the front door. You bump into that all the time. So the Model Y doesn't have that. The Model Y also doesn't look as cool on the front or back, but the storage space is almost the same. It's way, way cheaper. I'm bullish on the Model Y. Yeah, I think the Model X will be phased out over time, although it does look cooler in the front and the back. All right. And then John wrote, hey, Chris, how do you pick winning lottery numbers? Yeah, it's all random. Yeah. I don't play the lottery. If I did, I'd probably pick my favorite numbers. And number 4 would be in there as well. It's my favorite number. Yeah. Okay. But that's basically what Andre, thank you for that donation. I appreciate it. God bless you. Thank you. And that'll go directly to Project Magoo. Thank you. God bless you for that. And then Manas wrote, happy 150th episode of the webcast. Oh my God, 150 weeks. I joined on week 82 And it's been 68 weeks with you. I didn't miss a single one. Love your way, your techniques, and mission. God bless you forever. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. God bless you much, much more. And I've got your book in the other room here. I bought, use my template with, called Bonds Over Business, which is dope. Next up, Rawlings. Hey, Rawlings. Sorry, man. It's been an amazing journey in this community. HEB MBA has been fun and edutaining. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I spoke with Kemi Atarde, one of my MBA students the other day, and she said that you had a wonderful call about partnering or talking about Project Magoo in Nigeria as well. Thank you. Okay. Next up, 3 Yaffe wrote, "Hey Chris, good to see you. First time I've seen you. I hope you join us again." So the question is, hey, Chris, what do you think about Tesla and Apple making their product difficult to repair by third parties? Isn't this making consumers at a disadvantage? What do you think about this? Yeah, so Apple's always been like that, protective. They were more protective under Steve Jobs' tutelage or leadership. So this here is the computer that changed my life. This is my dad bought it. They thought I had a learning disability when I was a kid. I was just bored in school. My dad bought this in like the 8th grade or 9th grade, and my grades went up a lot because it was fun kind of creating with this. But this thing here, it's impossible to get into. You can't see it here, but the screws, the size of the screws, the shape is very different. You can't use any conventional tool for it. And it really, Steve Jobs was very protective. But the amazing thing is that the original version of this, the model that came out 6 months before I bought this one, or my dad bought this one, Steve Jobs had his whole team sign the inside of every single model. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And Steve Jobs was different. He didn't do market research. He had this great intuition. He knew, he thought to himself, I know what the customer wants, and I'm going to create what they're going to like, which is a different way to go. And Henry Ford even said, before he created the Model T, the first car, he said, if I just listened to what consumers want, I would have built a faster horse. And so I don't think there's any shame at all in controlling your own ecosystem. But what happens is people that want to massively customize these products, they buy a Windows product instead. Because with a MacBook Air, for example, you can't really open it up and add more RAM. You can't do that, right? So, yeah. I think it's fine, though, because I absolutely love the way that Apple computers are put together. They have their own integrated chipset as well. Yeah, so I'm a big fan. All right. In Tesla, it's kind of like an Apple product. And Apple's going to make a car very, very soon. If you go to Apple's website, you'll see that they're hiring people or have been hiring people with automotive experience, hardware experience, not just the software side for the Apple CarPlay operating system. So I think it's coming. Yeah. And you could see Elon Musk is starting to say negative things about Apple as well lately. I think there's about to be a big fight. Not fight, but competition. And the latest negative Apple thing he said was he just got rid of Apple News because it's just negative stuff, which is true. I have it, and it's all negative crap. Yeah, some of it's helpful. Yeah. All right. Next up, Manos wrote, Tops would definitely have to learn a big lesson. I still have cricket and wrestling cards in my drawer. Tops literally took a fortune from me in return for the cards. They should have decreased the cost. Yeah, it's brutal, man. It's brutal. There used to be a ton of baseball card companies and sports companies out there. But what happened was in the supply wars of the early 90s, companies like Upper Deck, Fleer, Donruss, et cetera, Bowman, Score, they made tons of cards that are worthless. And so the whole industry went belly up, and Topps bought most of the competitors. And now they're too powerful and too arrogant, probably, which is probably why Major League Baseball said no to them. Yeah, shocking though. Yeah. Oh man. Sarthik just wrote, the Taliban just killed 5 American soldiers. Fuckers. It's so sad, man. It's so sad. I think I'm always transparent. Y'all know, but my thoughts on this is that I think we're leaving too quickly. I think there should be some sort of United Nations peacekeeping effort to occupy part of the country for a while. And what's scary, and I learned this from my students, is that In the mountains in Afghanistan, there's a ton of uranium as well, which read between the lines there. Yeah. And there are some people, I'm going to share with you what some people are saying. I don't agree with this, but I'm going to share with you the other side. So there are some people that think, and I don't believe this, but there are some people that think that Iran fears the Taliban. And if the Taliban has a bit more power, it's bad for Iran. And when the U.S. invaded Iraq and Afghanistan, Iran was not upset because the U.S. basically took away their biggest competitors, or enemies, I should say, especially Iraq. Terrible world we live in, man. Just terrible. Terrible, yeah. And I heard this morning a report. What I do when I get up and I get ready is I listen to Wall Street Journal news as well as NPR sometimes. Yeah, and I do it this way. Alexa, what's the Wall Street Journal news this morning? Alexa, what's the Wall Street Journal news today?
From the Wall Street Journal.
Every day I listen to this.
Here's your midday brief for Thursday, August 26th. I'm J.R. Wayland for the Wall Street Journal. At least 3 U.S. troops were injured when a pair of explosions ripped through crowds of people trying to enter Kabul airport. That's according to
Alexa,
US
stop.
official.
God bless them. But that's what I do. I listen. It's just a way for me to work smarter, not harder, when I'm getting ready with ALEXA. That's terrible, man. It's so sad what's happening. So sad, yeah. And I wanted to say something about this in a vlog, and I know it's supposed to just be business vlogs, and that's why it was yesterday I published a vlog on Malala, and I said with guns you can kill terrorists, but with education you can kill terrorism. Yeah. But what warms my heart a bit is that I see the best and the worst of humanity, but I see the best humanity with people raising tons of money to help Afghan citizens get out of the country. There's a campaign my brother was part of that raised $30 million. So, yeah. Terrible, though. Terrible. All right. And Manas wrote, Microsoft reached $2 trillion valuation. Amazing. After Satya became the chairman, but Google is still hanging at 1.7 trillion. What do you think is wrong with Google? Yeah. Well, I think a big risk with Google, I don't think there's anything wrong with Google. I think they're doing a great job. I think that Google's market cap would be over 2 trillion, maybe over 2.5 trillion by now, if they were still in China. But I really respect what Sergey Brin did. So Sergey Brin, the co-founder of Google, he was born in communist Russia, USSR, many years ago, and he knows that the problems with a lack of freedom of speech in Russia. And so he decided in 2011, 10 years ago, to pull out of China because of that, which I'm embarrassed to say, in hindsight, my hedge fund, I went long Baidu, short Google at the time. It was a good trade. Yeah, sorry. But I think that if Google was still in China today, their market cap would be way more than $2.5 trillion. Yeah. Also with Google, there's a risk that, like, Google's been a great corporate citizen over the years. I think they're ethical. I do. Okay. Just like I think Apple is ethical. However, Google has the biggest monopoly we've ever seen, ever. Okay. More so than with Standard Oil and John D. Rockefeller. Because Google owns the two biggest search engines in the world. Number one is Google, of course. Number two is YouTube. And so a massive risk with Google is the fact that it's going to be broken up, okay, for antitrust reasons. And the reason why I think they've gotten away with owning the two biggest search engines for so many years without being broken up is because they're a good corporate citizen. So, yeah. But it's going to happen. That's a big risk. And that's one of the reasons why they rebranded the company years ago, one of the entities, to Alphabet, right? A holding company of two different search engines in the long run. All right. Next up, Manas wrote Guy Kawasaki. So Guy Kawasaki, by the way, was one of the original employees at Apple. He's a great guy, very well spoken, very charismatic, and he started something called Startup Garage years ago. Guy Kawasaki, good teacher too, is the angel investor who supported Canva. Why do some rich investors hesitate from investing in angel projects when they know that the company will succeed? What are your thoughts? Yeah. I think that a lot of high net worth investors do invest in early stage companies. They take risks and they assess the management team more so than the business model. Always. Yeah. I remember when I worked full time venture capital. There's an incubator called Plug and Play Tech Center in Sunnyvale, California here. And I know the founder, great guy named Saeed Amidi. And I was hanging out with him in Barcelona a year and a half ago, before this craziness started, or a couple of years ago. But Saeed would have me come in to help out with his startups, and I'd teach them as well. I did it for free. I just love teaching. And then he also had me select companies with him. And so what would happen is at the incubator, Plug and Play Tech Center, which is global now, what would happen is it was Saeed, myself, and one other person, another venture capitalist. And we were sitting in a room, kind of like Shark Tank. And we'd have a lot of fintech startups come in and present to us. They get 10 minutes each. And I remember with a couple of them, after they left the room, he looked at me and he said, "Chris, what do you think?" And I'd talk about the business model, yada, yada, yada. And he'd say, no. There's something about this management team. That founder can sell. There's something about this person that gets me excited about whatever it is they're going to be doing. I know their business model is going to change in the long run, but I want to make sure they can still get investors excited. And so I'm going to invest. And I thought it was fascinating. It was fascinating because he basically taught me that you have to look at the quality of the management team way, 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 way before you look at what the heck they do. And so I think a lot of early stage wealthy investors, if they hesitate, it's because mainly, number one, they don't feel comfortable with the management team. Yeah. I also asked Saeed, the guy's amazing. So Saeed immigrated from Iran in the early 70s, or late 70s, early 80s. And he came here to Palo Alto with nothing, the Bay Area. And he started, and speaking of giving and receiving, the Mother Teresa thing I was talking about before, you guys will love this. So he came here and he opened a carpet store, beautiful Persian carpets. And it was on University Avenue in Palo Alto. And what he did was he would network a lot when he delivered and installed the carpets at rich people's houses. And those were Silicon Valley billionaires, I guess. But there was also this one time where above his store, in Palo Alto on University Avenue, there was this startup. And, these guys were having trouble paying the bills, rent. And Saeed's a nice guy. He gives a lot. He's such a generous, wonderful human being. And so the guys upstairs that were renting from him said, "I'm so sorry, we can't afford rent." And Saeed said, "Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Whatever your startup is, I don't know what it is, but just give me some shares in the company." Those two people were Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. And that company was PayPal. And so he started, if you give, you'll receive. It's prophetic. It's been true since the beginning of time. And Saeed also taught me, he said, and whenever I meet somebody successful, I always ask them why they're successful. And I learn a lot from them, which is the crux of my book, 101 Crucial Lessons They Don't Teach You in Business School. And I said, what question, when you ask, if the entrepreneur answers the wrong way, leads you to never invest? And he said this. He said, sometimes I'll ask founders of companies, do you have a plan B? And if they answer that question by saying something like, yeah, well, I'm going to go, if this doesn't work, I'll go back to business school or I'll go back to IBM or whatever it is, then he doesn't invest. The answer he's looking for is something along the lines of, I don't have a plan B. I am all in. So he looks for passion, and he looks at the quality of the management team first, always, of course. Let me get a little bit of breakfast here. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, do you think that Afghanistan's condition can have an impact on Wall Street, like the Afghan shares and money value? I hope the whole world is going to be affected in some way or the other. What are your thoughts? Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, there's going to be material geopolitical risks, which will be black swan events. God forbid. It could become a big hotbed for terrorism. So yeah, there's going to be there will be long-term issues. Yeah. But I will say what's changed since 9/11 in the Patriot Act, for better or for worse, whatever, is that there are algorithms that are very sophisticated that the NSA makes that helps them to track any issues. And probably the best example of this is if we look at Israel. So in 2011, and you'll notice that there are fewer geopolitical incidents in Israel over the past decade that we hear about. These tragic news of people dying. It still happens, unfortunately. But what happened was the Israeli government in 2011, they created what's called the Iron Dome, which is an invisible force field around Tel Aviv. And because of that, they're able to intercept a lot of missiles and other things as well. And, since 9/11, there's been an explosion in the amount of artificial intelligence-based algorithms that governments can use to track terrorism. And the fact that there hasn't been a big terrorist event in the United States since 9/11 is a testament to the good job the government's doing. I'm sure they've stopped a bunch of things by leveraging technology. Right? So yeah, but allowing the Taliban to own all of Afghanistan is terrifying because yes, it will become a hotbed for terrorism again. I just hope, and I think that there will be some events that occur that changes how technology is used as well. I think it's only a matter of time until drones are made illegal. It's as much as I love using my drone. Read between the lines. Bad things can happen if it gets in the wrong hands. But I really do think that the sophisticated technology infrastructure that the United States government has can help them much more so today than obviously ever before. Find out about potential events before it happens. And they use these algorithms too. And I invested in a company called Palantir, which you all know about, but I invested in it years ago when I worked in venture capital. And what happened was the only reason that the Obama administration found Osama bin Laden was because they used Palantir software, right, to find patterns in the data. And Palantir is just one company, and there's many others. Yeah. And what happens is, I met with a number of times the CIA's venture capital division out here in Palo Alto. It's called Incutel, INQ, Tel, and the Q is because when they made the name, they love that guy Q from James Bond movies. And Incutel invested in Palantir early on, and they invest in a lot of great security companies that protect us. Yeah, and the NSA also was the one that created the cryptocurrency algorithms, or the secure algorithms. SHA-256, which is the secure algorithm for Bitcoin, was created by the NSA. Yeah. So, but it's a double-edged sword too. The whole Edward Snowden thing, you don't want to be spied on, but if it makes us a bit safer, it's yeah, okay. All right. Next up, Andre wrote, when developing your business plan, do you have any recommended websites to use in researching your industry? Yeah. I would just go to annual reports of companies in your sector. And sometimes you can also find parts of reports that are given away for free as marketing vehicles. So for example, in the technology sector, there's Gartner and Forrester. And they're kind of like McKinsey, but for tech. And they create these reports. Sometimes they release some of them for free. or you can find sometimes parts of McKinsey reports or consulting reports that are made free as well. And they try to gouge you by making you pay like $1,000 for it or whatever. Don't pay. Just read it for free. Yeah. And yeah. Okay. All right. And give me 1 second here. Hold on. Here we go. Oh, Suzanne, how are you? Suzanne's one of my amazing MBA students. She is a keynote speaker, very well spoken, and an author as well. It's great to see you, Suzanne. How are you? So Suzanne wrote, Jeffrey Epstein is listed as an American financier. What is that, and how did he make his wealth? Yeah. So he worked. So he worked at Bear Stearns many years ago. Bear Stearns went belly up in early 2008, and so he made a lot of his money there. And then he partnered with some very wealthy Americans as well and managed their money. And the rest of it is kind of elusive where he got his money. If you're interested, I think it's on Netflix. There's a documentary on him. You can check out it if you want to. Yeah. But he used to be a teacher on the Upper East Side in New York City. And he just networked a lot to get that job at Bear Stearns. And then eventually he met a lot of rich people. You've seen all the news reports. And he managed a lot of their money. Yeah. Good to see you, Suzanne. Okay. Next up, Manas wrote, do you think in the next 100 years, gold is going to disappear from the world? Gold is touching the sky every day. Do you think gold will be replaced soon? No, I think there's always going to be demand for gold, always. You know, it's for hundreds of years, thousands of years. You know, people have looked at gold, even back in the Old Testament, when Moses went up to the mountains. He came back and he found that there was an idol built out of gold. And that's when there was 15 commandments. And he got mad and he threw one of them and he said the 10 commandments. Sorry. That was from a movie called History of the World Part 1. Suzanne, have you seen that movie? That was a Mel Brooks one, an oldie but a goodie. Yeah. No, but I think gold is always, and even if you look at like the crown jewels for the monarchy in England, it's all made out of gold. It'll always be made out of gold. India, there's massive demand, as you know, Manas, you're based there, for gold. It'll always be relevant, yeah. And I'm sure there are pockets where they haven't mined gold yet under the ocean, kind of like deep oil drilling, yeah. Next up, 4G G2. You remind me of R2D2. Said, Mr. Haroun, hope all is well. Chris, please, with you and your loved ones. Likewise. Do you help or provide courses regarding venture capital from A to Z? Thank you in advance. Yeah, I would check out my MBA degree program, which is right here, because I deal a lot with venture capital as we go through venture capital boot camp in the 3rd of 4 semesters. Yeah, I do have a venture capital course, which sucks. It's on Udemy now. I am about to take it down. Don't take it, please. It's awful. It was one of my first courses I made. I don't think it's good. Yeah, I'll take it down right away. Yeah. Okay. And then Mo wrote here, looking good in black. Thank you. It feels good to be back. This is the way I used to be. I'm getting all shiny too now. And when you guys do your Zooms at home or you have an interview, what happens when you're on television, movies, whatever it is, and when I've done TV interviews, they put makeup on you. And it's out there, but I'll show you because I'm starting to shine now a bit. Put it there and there. Thank you, Christine, for teaching me how to do this. There we go. Yeah. I'm not as shiny anymore. But I go through this really, like a lot of this, because my nose is ginormous, man. Yeah. Makeup companies like people that have big noses. Okay. All right. And Manas wrote, do you know Sarah Blakely Theck? I don't. I don't know who that is. Sorry. Moving on to Harsh. Harsh said, 90% of my friends have left India forever. They went to college in another country. I'm alone here, but I'm applying in India to build, or trying in India to build a company. Yeah, and if you want to make, in a couple days, you'll see there's a vlog that I'm going to release, which discusses how to move out of your country to whatever country you want to live in, and how to get a big company to get you a visa. So look out for that. Comes in a couple days. Yeah. Okay. And then Manas said, Sarah Blakely is the founder of Spanx. Oh, that's right. Those pants. Yeah. This is a Spanx shirt. Like, if I take this off, you'll see I'm really fat, but it makes me look sorry. All right. Harsh wrote, I want to show them that it's about the person, not the place. You can do big things from India with respect to your startup. Excellent. Yeah. Everybody leaves India for education and no one comes back. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I was on the board of this company called Cohesity. Sequoia did the A round. We did the B before I left to teach full time. And what Mohit Aaron has done, the founder, is he's gone back to Hyderabad to build out massive infrastructure for his company there. Right? And he's moved a bunch of employees there as well. I think people will move back. I don't think you need to be in the Bay Area to start a tech company anymore. I mean, just look at what's happened with COVID. The whole world tech world at least, has still functioned. I think the Bay Area where I live is in secular decline. I would rather invest in real estate in middle America or smaller towns or farmland even, like Bill Gates is doing, he's buying up farmland, than buy real estate in big cities. Yeah. I think a lot of people are going to end up moving back home. You don't have to be in the Bay Area or a tech center to start or work in a tech company anymore. You know, COVID has proved we do all this remotely. Yeah. Okay. And then next question is, what certification you suggest for wealth management? Yeah. There's nothing really required, but if you want to work in private wealth management, which is the only finance career where you can take your clients with you and leave. A lot of people do this when they work at big banks, they leave with their clients. You might want to look into a CFA, okay, Certified Financial Analyst designation, which you can do during the evenings, yeah. And a CFA is more credible than an MBA, I think, yeah, especially when it comes to finance, including my own. And Harsh wrote, I am staying and I will show them what India can do. Amen. Yeah, I'm very bullish in India. You know, I mean, China becoming more communist leads me to believe that, you know, India is our best friend and India is the biggest democracy. And instead of investing money in China, if they keep moving towards communism, we should put it in India. Yeah, or Singapore. Yeah. Peyton, how are you? Peyton's one of my amazing MBA students. He is awesome. He's in the United States Navy as well. Great guy. And Peyton said, you're the freaking man. So excited to see you this afternoon for the one-on-one. That's right. So I'm talking I've got a one-on-one with Peyton and some other platinum students this afternoon. Peyton, looking forward to chatting with you, man. Looking forward to chatting. Yeah. And I spoke with Christian the other day and he speaks highly of you. Yeah. All right. Next up, we got Sanyam who said, hey, Chris, I know you don't recommend holding cash. However, knowing that cash is liquid, how much cash should one hold? Do you have any rule on this, like for having a stock allocation? Yeah, like my age analogy I gave last week. Yeah. I mean, I usually have about 5% of my liquid net worth, usually, in very liquid investments. It might be treasuries or TIPS. TIPS, Treasury Inflation Protected Securities, meaning it's government debt that goes up in value if inflation goes up. But it's got to be AAA rated, very, very low risk. And I'm doing that more so now than I have in the past because interest rates are basically zero in my bank account. Yeah, but from a liquidity perspective, you always want to make sure that, like, that's why I don't recommend a lot of people invest in venture capital or hedge funds. Because a lot of times your capital is there are gates. You can't take your money out. They can literally put up gates and make you stuck, which is what happened in the fall of 2008 with a lot of hedge funds. Yeah. But I recommend a big part of your portfolio is liquid enough. God forbid you need to get access to it. Or worst case scenario, you know, from a disaster recovery perspective, you can tap into your retirement savings. Yes, you'll pay penalties for taking money out early, but make sure you have some of that available. Yeah. And by the way, anybody buying a house or an apartment, what I want you to do, right as you're about to sign the mortgage paperwork, I want you to say this: can you give me a line of credit as well? And what that means, and the mortgage broker is so hungry to close a sale, and you got leverage right when you're about to sign. You say, can I get a line of credit? And what that means is this. It's a legal document from the mortgage company that gives you access to 100 grand or whatever it is as a loan if you need it one day. Okay, so a line of credit can help with liquidity, yeah, in disaster situations. Yeah. All right, and then Sunny wrote, Chris, quick question. Does the flagship MBA program consist all of the shorter duration courses you have, or are some courses only available separately and not part of the MBA program? Yeah, the courses are separate. Yeah. The MBA program goes into a lot more detail, but I do have a product now on my website where it's a subscription program where you actually get access to everything. And I'll show you how that works here. Let's see if I got the right computer here. Here we go. Good. So if you go to my home page here, you click to buy my courses, and I'm logged in now, so actually I'm not logged in. Good. Okay, good. You can click right here. This is $99 a month. Okay. You get everything. Okay, my MBA program and all my courses. Yeah. But this does not have a 30-day money-back guarantee. The other ones do. Yeah. Otherwise, I cannibalize my entire business. Yeah. All right, give me 1 second, guys. Okay. All right. And Sandy wrote, Chris, from the part on insurance, what if the organization I hold my insurance with goes bankrupt? What happens to my protection? Yeah. There might be some sort of FDIC or federal depository insurance corporate protection. In America, it's called the FDIC. In other countries, there's a certain dollar amount that's protected in every bank account you have with the traditional bank. Okay. And if you're not sure what the FDIC amount is in your country, do a search for what is the FDIC equivalent in, and then put in your country name. You want to make sure you call the insurance company and ask them if their capital is protected as well by the government, if they're kind of set up as a bank. That's what I would do. Just make sure you call them and ask them for details. Yeah. And be careful with insurance companies too. Like, never use your insurance company to buy stocks. Like, some of them will say, you get your policy with us and you can buy stocks through us, and we'll invest in mutual funds for you. There's so many hidden fees. Only buy insurance from insurance companies. Don't buy stocks from insurance companies. It's like saying, I want to buy a motorcycle from McDonald's. Yeah. Or baseball cards from McDonald's. Yeah. All right. And then next one, sir, United States versus United K. Which country should I choose for MBA? Ivy League or London Business School or Oxford? Oxford's program is called the SED program. SED, I think it launched in the mid-90s, yeah. I would say whatever country you want to live in longer term. That's what I would say. A lot of times people pick a business school based on where they want to live, because that can kind of help you from a networking perspective as well. So if your dream has always been to work, I don't know, in London, and you want to work in business in London, then getting an MBA from the London Business School or London School of Economics, LSE, where Mick Jagger went, might be logical. Yeah. Although I think it's a ripoff. Yeah. Which is why I do what I do. Okay. And then John wrote, Chris, I sent you an email 3 days now, still patiently waiting for your response. Yeah, I get so many emails. I can't, it's impossible for me to respond. If you send it to support@harounventures.com, one of my staff will help out. So make sure it goes to support@harounventures.com, and we'll get to you, I promise you. Thank you. Okay. Next up, CFA plus an IFOA UK actuaries is a good combination, ? For finance. I don't know what an IFOA is. I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. Next up, Pearl wrote, congratulations, Chris, and your team on the 150th episode. Thank you. It's surreal. It's surreal. Yeah. Yeah. I also want to thank Wrigley, who moved on. He started his own company, but he was with me at the beginning. Yeah. Good guy. Okay, Anurag wrote, Dear Chris, Could you please explain the metrics one should look for while investing in an IPO? Most companies seem overvalued at IPO. Yeah. So when it comes to investment research in general, I have this product that I created for my MBA students in my MBA degree program. It's my investment research dashboard, and I go through 100 steps on how to analyze companies. And what comes out of this after you analyze companies is from a finance and qualitative perspective. What comes out of this is a detailed report. And for those of you in my MBA program, we cover this in the fourth semester in EMS 4-2, Economics Management Strategy Class 4, Semester 4, Class 2. So there's a lot that goes to it. Okay, it's tough for me just to answer that with a single question. Yeah, but definitely you want to read the entire S1 IPO filing before thinking about investing. Yeah. All right. All right. And then Christoph wrote, we're having very serious problems in our own Western countries these days. Canada, the United States, Australia, UK are turning fascist or national socialist. We're turning into China. Even Chinese, our North Koreans are saying Canada, US are going that way. Yeah. And then you wrote, God help us in Canada and America. And you gave my favorite emoji, a prayer. Yeah. I will say that it does worry me. It definitely does, to be intellectually honest, that freedoms are being taken away because of COVID. And I get it. It's rational. It's rational that we stay home. There's lockdowns, whatever, until things get a bit better. But we better be damn sure and put pressure on our governments and your local minister of parliament, MP in Canada, or congressperson in America, et cetera, that once COVID is done, that we get these damn freedoms back. I think the United States has enough checks and balances in place to keep the government in check. It's just the way the Constitution was made. You know, when the Constitution was signed in the United States, it basically gave individual states a lot of power and the federal government some power. Okay, so there's a lot of checks and balances in place. And my favorite license plate on the planet is New Hampshire. New Hampshire license plate in the Northeast United States. New Hampshire license plate, at the bottom it says live free or die. And although, part of me kind of questions, I thought at first it was selfish of people not to wear masks. I'm kind of torn. Of course, I wear it. I carry a mask with me everywhere all the time to my pocket. But you also want to keep governments in check. And you want to make sure that, they don't get too much power, increase in power in the long run. Otherwise, the whole world does move more left wing, like China's unfortunately doing right now. But there better be enough people to put all governments in check in the long run after COVID is done to make sure we get these damn freedoms back. Yeah. So, yeah. And that's what I love about America. Look, there's a lot of issues in America, but America is... It was land of extremes sometimes. And I think there's enough people that with differing opinions to make sure that, that right decisions are made by government officials in the long run. And that's part of the Constitution as well. Keep the government in check. And I love the liberties that people enjoy in this country. And I'm a firm believer in democracy. You all know that, yeah. But I have some students that told me during COVID, I'll never say which countries or which students, but they said that when COVID first started in March, April in their countries, that government officials had sticks and they'd beat the crap out of them if they even went outdoors. Yeah. Well, the good thing about everybody having one of these things is everyone's a journalist now. So Tiananmen Square type events, if God forbid they ever emerge again, the whole world's gonna be able to film with these things, and God bless Elon Musk for Starlink as well, because Starlink is basically a way for everybody to get access to internet anywhere in the world, so that propaganda or internet filters are obliterated, and freedom of information is great for freedom fighters like myself. Okay. And am I a Democrat or a Republican? Well, when I was a kid growing up in Canada, I was definitely a Republican. I love Ronald Reagan. Then I came to the States and I can finally vote. And I don't know who to go for. Sometimes I do Democrat, sometimes I do Republican. I'm probably more of a libertarian. I believe in freedom of the individual. I believe that my students can accomplish anything they want to with enough confidence and enough tools or arrows in their quiver. I humble myself and pride myself on giving my students a lot of tools for low prices, a lot of times for free, so that they can reach their full potential in life. I never teach my students how to fish, but I teach them how to fish so they can eat for a lifetime. Yeah. Yeah. But Christoph, thanks for that comment. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Christina, how are you? Christina is one of my amazing MBA students. She's in the Platinum program, and she is in charge of the yearbook this year. She's great. She sets up weekly calls with my MBA students as well. She mentors them. She helps them present. She's awesome. She's awesome. And her husband, Christian, who's also dope. He's great. Lives here in the Bay Area. They both live in South San Francisco. And Christian, this guy's resume is insane. So he's a video game expert. He worked at LucasArts. He worked at Electronic Arts, and now he works at Sony PlayStation. Yeah, my dream job. Yeah, great guy. He's in the program too. Yeah, and they were actually Christina and Christian and their daughter Bella. They were on television on CBS recently as well. Interviewed. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So we have a celebrity right here. So Christina wrote, "Good morning, Chris and weekly Office Hours Webcast family. Congratulations on 150th webcast. Hope you're having an outstanding week so far. Thank you. Likewise. Yeah, likewise." And Christina does the water challenge as well. She always kicks my butt on it. I'm at 9:15 a.m. I'm an hour behind schedule. I hope you're doing well with this. Yeah. All right. Next up, I've got here. Turn a little bit of air on here. Anurag wrote, "Dear Chris, what are your thoughts on the smartest employee ever? Steve Ballmer, worth a whooping $100 billion, started as an assistant to Bill Gates, and he rose up to CEO position." Yeah. So he kind of started as the head of sales for Bill Gates. And so when Bill was at Harvard, he dropped out of Harvard undergrad. When he was there in the early 70s or so, one of his roommates in the dorm, or someone in the dorm he was good buddies with, was Steve Ballmer. And they used to go out and have a lot of fun together. Yeah. And Steve can certainly sell. Yeah. But I think he's a bully. I do. I think he really hurt the corporate culture at Microsoft after Bill Gates stepped aside. And I think getting Satya Nadella to become CEO was a brilliant decision, because Satya is more personable. He's a better leader. He's incredibly well spoken, and he started the cloud division, Azure, at Microsoft. Steve Ballmer got all the divisions at Microsoft to fight against each other, basically. And I remember once when I went to Microsoft's headquarters. I used to go every year as an investor when I worked in the hedge fund industry. And I remember it was the summer of 2004, and I was in the audience at the analyst event. Bill Gates was right in front of me with Steve Ballmer, and I was very quietly at my computer. It was 1:01 p.m. West Coast time, and which is just after 4 p.m. New York time. And I had a bunch of companies report earnings at the same time. One of them was Citrix, ticker CTXS. I remember it well. And I was very quietly updating my financial model, because I worked at a hedge fund, putting all the financial statements together to understand if we should transact after hours or not. Very quietly. And Steve Ballmer was up there with his booming voice presenting. And all of a sudden, there's 500 people there too. All of a sudden, he stopped talking, and I'm at my model. It wasn't a mechanical keyboard, it's just my laptop, right? It was quiet. And I'm like, oh my God, he stopped talking. Why did he stop talking? And so I looked up, I'll never forget this, very slowly, and he was staring right at me, like a power move or something. And so I stared back. And I was like, I'm not going to lose this staring contest. Hi, I'm 7. So I'm staring back. And it felt like forever. And then 30 seconds later, or less than that probably, I looked down because I got scared. And then he continued talking. Yeah. I won't forget that. Also, whenever I see John Chambers, CEO of Cisco, present, never make eye contact with him because he'll ask you a question in the audience. He's a good guy. I love John Chambers. All right, next up I've got L. Greg, who's saying, hello, Chris. Great sharing your project in Africa. Thank you. And, credit goes to Vital there for sure. Yeah. And Vital's one of my good buddies. Moving on to Manas, who said, do you think Russia and China are intentionally not interfering in Afghanistan? Both are trying to surround the United States and blame it for everything. What are your thoughts on this? Yeah. I know that Putin had some complimentary comments to make about the Taliban recently because they allowed a bunch of airplanes to leave Afghanistan, Kabul, and land in Moscow. I think that, so China's a little bit different. I think China, and I'm critical of Beijing when it comes to communism, but when it comes to their management of big companies there, in America, some companies are too big to fail. In China, some companies are too big to succeed. But I will say the Chinese government has done a pretty good job of staying out of geopolitical issues, right? They've never tried to become the world's police. They're actually pretty good corporate citizens when they're in other countries. Like in Rwanda, for example, where there's a big Chinese presence because there's natural resources they're mining. The Chinese government paved beautiful roads there as well. So China does a good job of staying out of geopolitical events, with the exception, of course, of anything close to North Korea sometimes, as well as Taiwan, which is a hot issue. Yeah. So I think that China, I don't think the only reason they get involved in Afghanistan at all is for natural resources. Yeah. Yeah. In terms of Russia, no, Russia is definitely involved somehow. I don't know how. It's always a power move for them. And Russia gets too much credit, I think, for given the size. I mean, when it was the USSR, they were a massive, communist economy. But Russia's tiny. It's like, 12th in the world or something? Yeah. But Putin is definitely going to he definitely have some presence there for sure. I don't know how or what, but definitely. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Getting a lot of geopolitical stuff today. It's interesting. All right, next question is, Manas wrote, let's imagine you working as a CFO. What company would it be? Virgin or Tesla or the Boring Company? This one's hilarious, yeah. I definitely say Virgin. The Boring Company, of course, that's the flamethrower company that Elon started. I think that Richard Branson is just very easy to work with, yeah. All right. Okay. All right, next up, Sarthik wrote, hey, Chris, should I buy Fanatics baseball merchandise? Yeah, they make great merch. I buy a lot of, I don't have them here, but I have tons of different Blue Jay hats, Toronto Blue Jays from Fanatics. They make great merch. It's just making baseball cards is weird. It's like Gap or Baby Gap, selling software products, selling soft drink products and exclusive software products at McDonald's. Like, it's just so out of left field. Sorry for the pun. Yeah. And we know a lot more about it, what really happened if these were publicly traded companies, but they're not. Yeah. And Major League Baseball has antitrust provisions. They can basically do what they want to do until Congress says no one day. Yeah. Okay. And the Aquahood is actually Michael from the United Kingdom. Great guy. How are you, man? Good to see you, bud. He went to school and grew up with Sacha Cohen as well. And he said he's a good guy and very generous. So Michael wrote, damn, I'm late to the party again. Howdy, Chris. Howdy, all. My prayers to across the world. Awesome. My prayers as well. Great to have you, brother. Great to have you. Always great to have you. Okay. And then Christoph wrote here, I'm honestly very concerned for our freedom and liberty in North America, Chris, and I'm feeling like we're going into a very dark Chinese-like society here. Social credit scores, surveillance state, no freedom over our own bodies. Yeah. I think in the United States, there are enough freedom fighters out there, or people that want to keep the government in check, and there's enough checks and balances in the United States to make sure that doesn't happen. And I'm very proud to be from Canada, and sometimes it bothers me that Canada moves a little bit more left sometimes, but given the proximity to America, I think that Canada will always lean towards the right. Yeah, not too far right, but yeah. It's a different system. Like Canada, there's no term limits. You can be prime minister forever, right? Which means you want to appeal to the middle class and give away a lot of social services forever, which is okay. But your goal is to stay in power forever. In America, there's checks and balances in place so that you can't be president for more than 8 years. And so you want to leave a legacy instead of just trying to stay in power forever. Yeah. I know that was controversial, but that's what I think. Yeah. All right, give me 1 second. Tons of questions here today, guys. Give me 1 second. Sorry. All right. All right. And then next up, somebody said A, person by the name of A, not Canadian A, but the letter A. I wrote, do you know about IIMs? Yeah. I don't actually know what that stands for. Let me know what it stands for, and I'll give you my humble thoughts. Yeah. Unless that's lowercase l, Industrial Light and Magic. Yeah. Lucas's company. All right. And Christoph wrote, people need to study history to see what dark times we're entering right now in Western countries. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not that... I'm a little bit more optimistic. I understand your pessimism. I do. And I respect your opinion. But I don't think things are going to be that bad. I don't. I think there's enough checks and balances globally. Everybody is a reporter with these things. I think things are okay. And I know that democracy has only been around for 0.0001% of the time that people have been on this planet. But I believe that it's too late to turn it around. You know, with freedom of information, trying to reverse democracy is like putting your hand in a stream and trying to stop minnows from swimming upstream. They'll go through your fingers. You just can't. Yeah. And I think there will be enough checks and balances in place in countries like China too. Given, everyone is a journalist with this in their pocket, that if there's any sort of civil unrest or too many human violations in China, people use these things to keep government in check. It'll happen. It'll happen. And I get it. Beijing is trying to maintain order, right? That's what governments do. They want to maintain order. But I think there will be a big uprise event coming up soon. Yeah. It happened in Hong Kong, remember. Right before COVID, a lot of freedom fighters in the streets, my heroes, were petitioning for more rights. And then COVID happened, and my controversial comment on this is that the Chinese government could have stopped COVID a bit earlier, but conveniently, everybody had to go home from protesting. Yeah. Okay, and letter A wrote, Western countries are very beautiful. I agree. I see beauty in all countries. And Christoph wrote, those who would give up essential liberties to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Yeah. And then A said, beautiful people, weather, big companies, big money, beautiful blondes, and freedom. And then no freedom over your own body. Yeah. So it looks like it's we've got an interesting discussion going on right here. Yeah. And I like it when we have extreme opinions like this, because what this does is it creates debate and awareness of the fact that we have to remember to keep governments in check longer term, right? And after COVID, I think we get our freedoms back. If not, then I think that there's going to be a hell of a lot of protesting globally. And I think it could be Tiananmen Square-like as well. Yeah. Power to the people. Got that John Lennon song in my head now. Okay. All right. All right. And then last one I'll read on this is Christoph wrote, I'll read them all. Christoph wrote, central banks are loading up on gold. Isn't that our answer? Yeah. I don't think central banks have any sort of new world order or long-term understanding of what's really going to happen given COVID. I just think there's so much uncertainty that what's happening ultimately is, governments are keeping rates at zero. Let me show you, Let me show you the data. So I try to stay away from the media the best I can, because the media is so negative. It's either Fox News is too right-wing or CNN is too left-wing. And Facebook has hurt society as well, because Facebook only gives us commercials in our feeds based on our political affiliation. If you're a Democrat, you get more Democrat-based sponsor stories, and the same thing with Republicans. And what happened is, damn you, Facebook, because you've caused the biggest separation in opinions in this country ever. Since the hippie movement, the 1960s, when they used to say, don't trust anyone over 30. So what I like to do personally is I like to look at the data, and I let the data tell me what's happening with COVID. And I'll show you. Okay. So I'm going to go over here, and I'll go to Gmail. And then what I'll do is I sent this to one of my students. Dion is her name. She's great. All right. Oh yeah, and I sent her this. Eat here. She's moving back to Florida. It's a great restaurant called the Greek Islands. But here's COVID statistics. Here we go. I want to show you this quickly here. All right. So what I do is I actually analyze the data. And look, I'm a positive person, as you all know, but I'm a realist as well. And I want to share with you what's actually happening. Okay. So this here is care of Google data, right? Google Cloud. And I want to show you what's happening and why governments are keeping rates at zero. And they're somewhat cautious, right? And so, if you have a thesis and you don't have data to back it up, it's just an opinion. But here's data. So you can select any state and any region you want to in the country, the county as well, okay? So this is Florida. And let's look here at the left first, this left chart, and then I'll move out of the way with my face on the right in a second. So on the left here, we can see the daily number of COVID cases. This here is, March, April of 2020. It was very low, but there's a statistical bias because not as many people reported or knew where there wasn't as much testing. Then it spiked in July of 2020. It went down. Then it spiked again towards year end. It went down, and we care about the rate of change, right? Now look here. This is the number of cases in Florida, okay, daily. It's at like almost an all-time high right now, right? Or it is an all-time high, basically. Okay. Now, since people have gotten their vaccines, and a lot of people that have been vaccinated have caught COVID again. But if you catch COVID again and you have the vaccine, the chance of you dying goes down. It does. And so what's problematic about Florida here is the number of new deaths. It's at an all-time high, right here. Okay. And there's different regions of the country that are reacting differently. And I don't rely on the media. I just look at the stats here, the data. Okay. And so if we go to California, it's much better than Florida. Okay. So, but it's still a little bit problematic. Look, the rate of change is positive here, but the number of deaths here is a lot lower. It's a lot lower. And so because there's so much uncertainty in terms of Delta and other future variants, Lambda, call it what you will, the government has no choice but to keep rates low. And to be somewhat careful for now, at least. Yeah. But this is pretty powerful. You can go to any region. So I'll go to a random state here, South Dakota, where obviously they're doing a much better job, right? And so the number of deaths is down a lot because of people getting vaccinated. So the bottom line there is that I always love to actually look at the data to interpret for myself what's actually happening. The media is so negative. And I try to, like, my wife loves watching the news, like when we're getting dinner ready and stuff. I try to tune out because it's just so damn negative. And the reason is because, you got a younger generation that's grown up YouTube, right? They don't watch the news, they watch this stuff. And so, as they get older, these consumers with this disposable income, the media companies are terrified that nobody's going to watch the news anymore. And so the media has to be, pardon me, really, really extreme. they'll say, find out why everybody in your town's going to get COVID tomorrow after the break. That sort of thing. Give me a second, guys. This is Throat 37. Singers use this. It just gets rid of your hoarse voice if you talk a lot. I talk a lot. All right, next up, Juliana Lopez. Juliana, first time I've seen you on the call. Nice to see you. Hope you join us again. My brother's daughter is named Juliana. She's awesome. She's awesome. Yeah. So Juliana Lopez said, hello, Chris. I'm working in a business plan for a not-for-profit organization in Mexico. I asked your question by Udemy. Thank you. Excellent. Thanks. And we try to answer all questions within 24 hours over Udemy. Yeah. And I have a team help me as well. And what I've done is I've given them a list of all questions students have ever asked so they can copy and paste. But there are specific ones. If I haven't answered yet, I will soon. Thank you. You can ask me here as well if you want. Yeah. Okay. And there's a comment here about the Canadian dollar, and so what causes currencies to go up and down is always demand for their currency, obviously. And so if the Chinese government is growing quickly and they need a lot of natural resources to build their infrastructure, they have to convert from the Chinese currency of the renminbi into Canadian dollars and then buy Canadian commodities, right? And that's why whenever China buys a lot of stuff, what happens is the values of natural resource-rich countries, dollar or currency goes up quickly. Like Canada's natural resource-rich, same thing as Australia with the Australian dollar, and the Brazil with the Brazilian real. Yeah. All right. Myron, how are you? Myron's one of my amazing MBA students. She is from Kenya, and she lives in the United Kingdom right now. She's awesome. She has a cross above her head every time I talk to her, which I love, which her mom made with oil, which is blessing her house in the United Kingdom. And we're actually building a school next year in Kenya with Myron in honor of her mother. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. And Christoph wrote, why is the West going to such draconian totalitarian measures and stomping all of our freedom and liberty, all for a virus that's 99% survival rate on a majority under 65 years old? Yeah. Yeah. I think, well, Christoph, I showed the data a minute ago that I look at from Google Cloud, and the rate of change is what scares me. And whenever I analyze data, what I do is and I'll be teaching about this in my upcoming options course, which is added to my MBA program. I look at normal probabilities, and I'll explain this in a fun way as well. Stats in a fun way, imagine that. But I look at the rate of change, right? So if you look at the rate of change of the number of people dying in Florida, for example, it's actually the derivative is positive, right? Not good, but positive, meaning above 1, right? So it's accelerating. I always look at the rate of change with data, and that's concerning to me right now. Yeah. If it starts to decelerate, then I think that people will feel much more comfortable. Yeah. But the good thing about Google, and I do trust Google, I think they're a good corporate citizen. I do. In their IPO prospectus when they went public in 2004 in the fall, through a Dutch auction, what they did was they wrote, "Don't be evil." Like it's part of their corporate mantra, their corporate culture, and I think they are ethical. But Google provides all the data for us, which I just showed you as well, so you can monitor it in real time as well. Yeah. Okay, Sardik wrote here, "Hey Chris, I've invested in Bitcoin and Ether and other top cryptos, but definitely small cryptos have a better return, but lots of risk. How do you find a great one?" Yeah. So in my MBA degree program, and I have a cryptocurrency course as well, which I just updated. I provide you with a framework of 49 steps where you can analyze cryptos just like you're reading an S1. And that will help you make the best investment decision. Yeah, most cryptos are a scam, so be careful. Follow all 49 steps I provide you with. Thanks. Okay. 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 And then Juliana wrote here, I'm using your course for the business plan for an NPO dedicated to education for children in poverty with companies as donors. Good for you. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. Is it correct to assume both my client, how TAM works, and all the customer analysis? Yeah. So I'm trying to understand the question. I'm so sorry. If you can rephrase the question, that would help me a lot. And I'll look at the very, very bottom here as well of the questions asked. So the second you ask it, I'll answer immediately. Yeah, thanks. I'm just trying to understand what the question is with both my clients and all stuff. Thanks. Okay. And A wrote, one day I will rule Wall Street. Cool. Starlink wrote, hey, Chris, I'm looking for a 4-year plan of short investing. What would be more profitable, investment in IPO stocks or cryptos? Yeah, I don't know. It all depends on the investment research that you do. If it comes to a publicly traded company, then, in my MBA program, I have a lot of templates I provide you with to analyze any companies. Okay, so from a qualitative, quantitative perspective, etc. I also have a lot of templates when it comes to other things like cryptocurrencies and other investment methodologies. Yeah. So it's tough for me to answer that. Yeah. I think that with IPOs, there's kind of a filter process that takes place. Hardly any companies go public. For every Google out there that goes public, there's a gazillion other tech companies that never go public. And so there's a process of natural selection. It's like economic Darwinism to the extent that to make it to IPO, you've already proven if it's traditional IPO and not like a SPAC. To make it to IPO, the investment bankers believe in you, and a lot of investors believe in you as well, that your company will be around for a long time. To make it to ICO, which is like an IPO but for cryptocurrencies, initial coin offerings, ICO. To make it to ICO, it's really easy to do. Anybody can ICO, and people do an ICO over the Ethereum platform in order to list. And just because you make it to ICO doesn't mean you're going to be successful at all, because cryptocurrencies are not a regulated market either. Yeah. So if you put a gun to my head, awfully and say, I would say certain IPOs. Yeah. All right, Sean. Hey, Sean, what's going on? Sean wrote, hey, Chris, I'm thinking about starting a technology consulting company for a business-to-business like consulting firm. What is the best way to market my company? Yeah, and good for you for doing that. That's awesome. In the United States, there's more than 100,000 consulting firms. It's very fragmented. What I would do in terms of marketing your consulting company, the brand is you. You are the brand. And so what I would do is, in order to become a thought leader, you have to think like a thought leader. Like the Rodin sculpture, I think, therefore I am. And so the best way to become a thought leader is to create vlogs, starting at once a week if you want to, and repurpose that content on multiple social media platforms. Write once, read many. So for example, this webcast you're watching gets repurposed outside of YouTube into my podcast that I never talk about, but it's out there. Also, I do it through LinkedIn. I have micro content from this going to Instagram, Twitter, etc. And so you have to think like a thought leader and keep giving your opinion, even if nobody clicks the like button, and nobody reads your LinkedIn content. You just got to be a pit bull and a pork chop and understand it's a marathon and not a sprint, and you're never giving up. You're going to keep making this stuff. And if you do that from a marketing perspective, because with consulting companies, the brand is you. If you do that, then from a marketing perspective, eventually, you will get clients, and eventually the media will reach out to you for quotes. It happens, it works. I promise you it does. But you got to have the mindset, just like Mother Teresa we talked about earlier today, of giving and helping other people. If you help other people, it'll always come back to help you. And what a lot of consulting firms do, be it McKinsey, Gartner, Forrester, etc., what they do is they actually publish some of their reports for free online. And Gartner refers to it, you've probably seen it as the Gartner Magic Quadrant. And a lot of people get that stuff for free, but it's a free marketing tool. And that's the essence of freemium business models, which a lot of companies from Snapchat to LinkedIn to YouTube use. It's a free product initially, right, at the lower levels, and then you can upsell. All right. And what I recommend doing, Sean, is I recommend writing a book. Okay. And tons of my students have done this. Write a book, costs you nothing. And I'll give you the template in a second. It's a 9-inch by 6-inch template I can give you, which is how I've written my books, and Manas and many other people in this call have written their books. And what you can do is make that a free download on your website. And I have that on my website as well. I don't mention as much anymore because I got complaints I was doing it too much. But what that does is this. In order to download the book, they have to give you your email address. And email is still the gold standard when it comes to marketing your company. I know it's old school, but it works exceptionally well. And so you need to give a carrot away, and then eventually you get a big list of names you can market in the long run. And you got to be so long-term focused, dude, too, when it comes to marketing. We have to see about 20 Toyota commercials before we're even thinking about buying a Toyota. But you can start now. You can all start now. And, YouTube, I said this before, is the only gold rush in history where it costs you nothing to make the product. And it's the only gold rush in history we get access to billions of potential customers right away. And so in order to write your book, and your book you should bring with you to all potential meetings, networking meetings, and give it away for free. Okay, it's actually pretty cheap if you buy them in bulk, and I'll show you how. And everybody should publish a book, and a lot of my students have already done so. So the way to do it is, let's go over here. You just go to my website, harounventures.com/write-book, all lowercase. You see that? All lowercase, write book. And then what you can do is you can download a template that's really easy to use. It's free, of course. And right here, I give you on the first page, one page of instructions on how to publish on Amazon Kindle, Amazon paper, based print books, as well as Audible, and then how to get just an image on the front of the book. And basically the way it works here is you just type everything here and then right click on the table of contents and select repaginate, and you're done. It's that simple. It's that simple. Yeah. Okay. Next question is, what's the best way to value an oil company? Yeah. So what people look at usually when it comes to oil companies is they look at similar valuations. Like you want to look at what ConocoPhillips, ticker COP, and Exxon, ticker XOM, are valued at, as well as British Petroleum, Petrobras in Europe, in Brazil, etc. And then you want to come up with a valuation for your company based on a similar valuation multiple. Of course, what you also want to look at, aside from a price earnings multiple, is the value of oil right now and what you think the value of oil is going to be. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Marin wrote, hey, Chris, I looked at the company's House website equivalent to United States government SEC, but reports are not similar to us. I see much more detail. Are the rules on reports similar in all countries or only the US? Yeah. So it doesn't matter what country you're in. You can always do a search for the annual report of whatever company it is. Now, you're based in the United Kingdom. So instead of going to sec.gov, for example, what you can do is, give me 1 second, you can just search for annual reports. So let's just say that British Petroleum annual report. Okay. You'll find this, and BP actually is listed on SEC or on the United States markets as an ADR. But this is a British company, okay? And you can click here and download the annual report here after you agree to something we don't read. So you can always get it here. You can go directly to the source. And if you're not sure, you can always do a search for investor relations and the company name. So let me pick another British one. Oh my God, I can't think of a British company. British Tobacco? Yeah. British American Tobacco, BAT. Yeah, if this is based in the United Kingdom. If you click here, you've got to be kidding me. It says here their logo is a better tomorrow, yet they sell tobacco. But anyway, you can scroll down here and get access to their annual reports as well. Yeah. And British Tobacco, it trades on London Stock Exchange here. Yeah. So any company, bottom line is you can do a search for investor relations and the company name, or just search for the annual report and you'll find it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Christoph said a friend of mine did their MBA in Hong Kong because he wanted to live there, but it didn't work out. Yeah, well, there's been a crackdown on freedoms in Hong Kong, which we all saw towards the end of 2019. It's tragic. Yeah. All right, and then Christina wrote hi to 4G, one of our students here. I'm currently a Haroun Education Ventures MBA student. We just completed Professor Chris's MBA degree program, Venture Capital Bootcamp series. It's amazing. Thank you. Very thorough step-by-step business plan and pitch deck presentation. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's fun. You guys will love it, or your money back. Yeah. All right. All right, and then there are comments about getting a visa and whatnot, and purchasing a visa. You can do that. Like I know there are Canadians that look into getting buying citizenship in America and other countries. Other people do this from other countries. There's bizarre rules. Like if you invest in a company in a poor region of the country, you invest 500 grand or whatever it is. Then, and if you employ a bunch of people, then the likelihood of you getting citizenship goes up. You buy citizenship, which it is what it is, or you can enter the lottery. All right. And Manas wrote Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, who I went to school with, and I'll never forget it because I was at McGill University, and there was this beautiful woman that I was just too nervous to talk to in my entire degree. Nobody talked to her. She was just amazing. And so in the fourth year, I went up to her at an on-campus charity event, I remember, and I was talking to her, and the conversation went for half an hour. And I was like, oh my God, and she's laughing at my awful jokes. And I was going to ask for her number, but I just kept talking. And I thought I was dreaming. It was crazy. And then all of a sudden, this guy walks up. Looks like Jim Morrison with long hair. And she sees him, and she turns her back to me, and she's talking to this guy. And I'm like, dude, I just got Heisman. What happened there, man? And so I said to the guy, I was like, hi, I'm Chris Haroun. Like I'm anybody. I'm not. And he said, Justin Trudeau. Dude, I can't beat a Kennedy when I'm trying to pick up. Like it was crazy. That's okay though, because my wife is way better. Yeah, more beautiful, smarter, funny, and all that stuff. But Justin Trudeau 1, Haroun 0. Justin Trudeau, you wrote here, Manas wrote, has ordered the troops to stay in Afghanistan even after the 30th of August. It's good. It's going to pressure, I'm proud to be Canadian, it's going to pressurize the new so-called fair government of Afghanistan. I guess Justin is right. What are your thoughts? Yeah. I don't know how many troops the Canadian Army has there, but what I'd like to see is if the whole damn world can get together and have their own UN peacekeeping initiative, so to speak, in Afghanistan, and just occupy the region for a while. It's going to be painful, but we have to do this. And instead of Boris Johnson from the United Kingdom, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, just criticizing Biden, it'd be great if a lot of politicians could stand up and say, okay, we got a problem here. Let's all send more troops together, peacekeeping troops. Yeah. Because what will happen longer term is it's going to be a hotbed for terrorism. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Senyum said, Chris, With love and concern, drinking water while standing could be harmful for the body in the long run. I'd be happy if you consulted your doctor about it and keep in best health. Why is that? Let me know, please. I've never heard that, but I'd love to learn. Yeah, but what I do is I wear, there's some cushion on these shoes as well. I usually wear my, I bought the cheapest Yeezys shoes. They look ridiculous, but they help a lot. Yeah, and it makes me have more energy too. And if I sacrifice my health in order to help my students, I don't care. Yeah. I say with love in my heart. Yeah. But let me know what the issues are with standing and drinking water. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. I love you, Senya. Yeah. And then there's comments now about you got to get down on your knees when drinking water. Yeah. And actually, there's in Israel, they're trying to put together an army thousands of years ago, and the way that they could tell who they wanted to be in the army, I think this is a true story. I don't know. Was that they brought a lot of people that wanted to be in the army, and they said, "Get a drink of water," and the ones that got down on their knees and drank like this were hired. The ones that dipped their head in the water weren't hired. I know it's a weird story, but it's an oldie. All right. Okay. Yeah, and Christoph wrote, but the emergency powers have been overruling the constitution of our countries. Yeah. And then you wrote, I don't mind the mask, but COVID vaccine mandate and passport is wrong. Yeah. It looks like you're going back and forth arguing with constructive argument, which is good, with somebody by the name of A. Yeah. I personally think that after COVID is done, we will get these freedoms back. I do. God willing. Yeah. Yeah. And looks like the Pfizer vaccine just got FDA approval finally. Yeah. All right. And then Christoph wrote, we're being censored by Twitter and Google. Yeah. I think some sort of, like, we got to be careful with censorship, because we should all have, freedom to give our own opinions, as long as it's not misinformation. Like if people are going out there and saying that the Pfizer vaccine and all vaccines will kill you, and spreading misinformation, I don't think there's anything wrong with kind of saying, hey, please don't say those sort of things. Yeah. All right. And Tedo said, thank you. You're most welcome. Yeah. Okay. And Christoph said, I'm so happy and proud that you're a libertarian too, Chris. Thank you. And thank you for the icon as well. Thank you. I am. I believe in freedom of the individual. I believe that my students can do anything they want to. And I'm here to humbly help if I can. Yeah. Live free or die. And then you wrote, I deleted Facebook a decade ago because I could tell where it was going. Yeah, dude, it's weird, man. Like I go both ways when I vote. It's all based on the candidate, not the party. And somehow Facebook knows. It's bizarre. And I stopped using Facebook too. Yeah. My marketing staff does it though. Yeah. All right, Neil. Oh, Nil's great to see you. Nilsa's one of my amazing MBA students from beautiful Puerto Rico. She has a very dynamic personality. Yeah, she's great. And she exercises while she works as well, just like me. Except she rides a bike on her desk. I have my walker. Yeah. I'm getting old, a walker. Yeah. Nilsa wrote, Chris, congratulations on your 150th webcast. Thank you. I love being part of your MBA program and meeting all the amazing students. Thank you. Our students are awesome. We have students from all over the world. They're wonderful. They inspire me so much. Thank you. All right. And then with A and Christoph, I'm assuming you guys are talking to each other. So I'll skip what you're saying. If you want to ask me a question, just do at Chris. But I'll let you guys keep talking to each other and stuff, because I think it is helpful that differing opinions are shared. Yeah. Okay. Sarthik wrote here, I think the greatest threat to the world that we will experience in our lifetime is economic immobility. becoming the new normal. Chris, the movie Parasite is based on it. A must watch. Yeah. Is that the one from South Korea that won Best Picture 2020? I got to watch that. Yeah. I'll check that out. Thank you. Yeah. When it comes to economic immobility, I kind of have a different opinion. I respect your opinion on it, but I think that, given cloud computing and Zoom and what we're doing right now, you can work from anywhere in the world if it's a services-based job. Right? And I think places like Silicon Valley are going to go into secular decline, and big city real estate will eventually underperform investing in farmland or suburban areas, because you don't have to be in big cities anymore. You don't have to actually physically be located anywhere in the world, to have a shot at starting your own company. We witnessed the death of distance over the past year. We've proven as a society that we can do this remotely. I mean, my job didn't exist like 5 or 6 years ago, and my kids' jobs haven't been invented yet. And I'm incredibly bullish about the future and being able to leverage technology to do what we do. And so we have to ask ourselves, if the internet was invented first, would we still have offices or newspapers or schools? Well, we certainly wouldn't have newspapers. Would we have offices? Probably. Would we spend 5 days a week in the office? No. What's the point? Would we still have schools? Of course. Would we spend 5 days a week at school? No way. So I think that instead of creating all these economic stimulus programs, stimulus is important when times are tough. I get it. But I think a better solution would be to provide tax breaks for companies and schools that decide to have their students or employees work from home 2 or 3 days per week. And by doing that, you'll solve the problem of the environment, because we wouldn't use as much petrol. You'll solve the problem of obesity, because people have more time to exercise instead of driving 2 hours to and from work. You'll solve the problem of kids going down the wrong path at a young age, because you'll be at home more often to see them. And everybody wins. Okay. All right. And then Christoph said, wow, I'm too chatty today. Sorry, everyone. I'll be quiet now. No, please don't be quiet. I love your insight. I love differing opinions. And if you don't stand up for what you believe in, then our biggest fears will become a reality. So I respect everything you're saying. And if you want to, Christoph, what you can do is, if you're having a conversation with somebody by the name of letter A here, hi letter A, what you can do is you can do the @A or anyone's name to go back and forth that way, if you want to. But I welcome all your comments. I think they're wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Next up, I've got, and then Christoph said, great insights by Thurek. I agree. Moving on to Frederick Mendoza. Frederick, how are you? Frederick is lives in Baltimore. He's a great guy. He's in my MBA program now. He's also really into options, and he's been helping me out. Thank you with my options course. Thank you. So Frederick wrote, hello, everybody. Good to see you, brother. Yeah. I hope you're feeling better. I think you are, you said last time. Okay. Okay, and then you're very kind, sir. Thank you for your valuable time and insights. You're most welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, and give me 1 second, guys. And soon, what I'm going to do? Oh my gosh, we have to wrap it up soon. Oh my God, dude. Today was this has been my favorite session so far because of these differing opinions. Right? It's fascinating. I love different opinions, even though if I don't agree with all of them, I respect them tremendously. And you always need people to have differing opinions when you're running a company. And I remember, it's good to have negative opinions too sometimes. It really challenged us to think differently. I remember years ago, I was in a venture capital meeting, in a board meeting with one of my portfolio companies. And it was a security software company. They made rock solid security. You've heard of them. And they were discussing about how to decrease roadside bombs in Afghanistan at the time. And there was a naysayer in the room. And the naysayer said, you can't use software for that. And everyone was like, well, why? And he said, well, because you need a mobile data center to do that. And we're glad he said that, because we said, okay, well, let's create a mobile data center then, in a van, which actually decreased the number of roadside bombs. It's always good to have differing opinions. It's very healthy. This is how democracies are run. People have differing opinions, and we respect all opinions as well. So thank you, Christoph, for that. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Now, I guess because we only have a couple minutes left, I can't believe it. It's been that fast. Wow. This is my favorite one so far. A couple minutes left. I guess I have to think of a question now to ask all of you and to see who wins the MBA product this week. And because this is a special week, I'm giving away 5 of my MBAs, okay, the $909 MBA. And the rule is that you cannot participate in this question I'm about to ask you in a minute if you already purchased the MBA. Please don't participate. Okay. Let me think of the question. And the question is always based on the, I'm buying time as I think of a question here. Always based on the 7 topics I talk about at the beginning of the webcast. Okay. Are you ready? Here we go. I have the question. It's brewing. It's up here in this 286 old processor. Now, whoever answers this, the first 5 people that answer this, okay, will win. Okay, and if 6 people enter it, it's the first 5 I see. Okay, you ready? And it doesn't have, yeah, here we go. Ready? Here we go. Okay. Because this is the 150th one, I'm going to do something special, a little bit different. What is one quote from Mother Teresa that I mentioned today? Go. Again, type one quote that I mentioned that Mother Teresa said today. The first 5 people that do it win my MBA. All right, I'm waiting. Okay, Pooja, yep. Harsh, yes. So that's 2. Mel, yes. Dinesh, yes. And A, yes. Okay, we got it. Those 5 people. Mazel tov. Congratulations to y'all. Here's what you do, the 5 people. I'll tell you the 5 names again. Those 5 people I just mentioned. Email support@harounventures.com. And what I'll do is I'll send you the MBA coupon within a day or 2. Yeah. So again, email support@harounventures.com. Again, those 5 people are as follows. It's the first 5 I see. Pooja Jain, I went to school with Rakesh Jain, great guy. When I was a kid, yeah. He owns a big private equity firm in New York now. Pooja Jain is the first person that won. The second person that won is Harsh. The third person that won is Melly. The fourth person that won is Dinesh. And the 5th person that won is the letter A. Okay. And that's right. That's what I said, right? Yeah, that's right. That's right. So again, Pooja, Harsh, Melly 622, Dinesh, and letter A. Congratulations to all of you. Again, email support@harounventures.com, and I will personally go and respond to you within a day or 2. Okay, so there are tons more questions and comments. I'm so sorry we won't be able to get to all of them today. But what I want you to do is please just copy your questions, save them, and ask me next Thursday or any Thursday, because we do this call every Thursday forever, starting at 8 a.m. This was a blast. This was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. This is my favorite one so far, 150. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. Whoa. And that's my reminder. That's my alarm to tell me it's over. That's my son Dylan at COVID graduation. Look at this here. If I go here, you can see him. There he is there. Yeah. We were supposed to move the image a bit when I hold it. Anyway, that's his COVID graduation. Put his mask on. I'm hooked on a feeling. I'm high on believing. Okay, that I'm in love with my students. I love you all so much. Have a great weekend. God bless you. And I'll see you next Thursday and every Thursday forever at 8 a.m. If you're bored in the house bored, what you can do is watch that movie on Apple TV called CODA, C-O-D-A, which stands for Children of Deaf Adults. It's a great movie, very uplifting. I love it. I love it. All right, guys, well, take care. And as with all my weekly calls, what I do is I end with this video I licensed from the Silicon Valley Historical Association. God bless you all, and thank you.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.